Chapter 93 Speed. Chapter 93 Speed. Oh, P4553R. Damn punk, what a load of gall you have. Once I'm through with her, I'll deal with you. Lin Tianyu stared down Zhuo Fan with killing intent. As a man from the seven noble houses, everywhere he went all he saw was respect and envy. So a person like Zhuo Fan, who had only contempt, had to be put down. This was an unwritten law of the Tianyu Empire. Dong Tianba sensed his killing intent and sighed at Zhuo Fan's fate. Ha ha ha, bro Dong shouldn't waste time with a clown. Aware of the change in the atmosphere, Zhuo Fan still sported a casual smile. It was spoken low enough to seem nonchalant, but loud enough to let everyone in on his words. Everyone knew who he was hinting at, but none saw it coming from a first layer of bone-tempering cultivator. Only a fool would mock the seven noble houses. The people started to pity Zhuo Fan's imminent and gruesome death. Ha ha ha, brother Tianyu, a fool just ridiculed you. Xiao Dandan felt the atmosphere was lacking, so she added oil to the fire. Lin Tianyu was now filled with hatred for Zhuo Fan. Humph, a retard's words won't affect me. I'll just swipe him away once I'm done with the girl. He then stepped forward. A fierce wind blew and vanished, but his laughter never stopped banging on the other's ears. Ha ha ha. Only the last article remains and then I will get to truly appreciate this lady. Dong Xiaowan was curled up in fear, her hands tightened on her last shred of dignity. Dong Tianba and the four elders made a tight circle around her. However, Zhuo Fan stood there impassive, as if it had nothing to do with him. Suddenly, Lin Tianyu appeared before Dong Xiaowan and reached for her last article with a grin. I won. Think again. A snort reached his ears. He didn't even get the chance to react when a fist smashed into his pretty face. He went tumbling through the air and smacked the pavement before he could get his bearing. When he got up from the ground, his cheek was already swollen. What just happened? The two were so fast that the onlookers didn't see a shadow. They only heard two loud sounds, and then came Lin Tianyu kissing the ground. Zhuo Fan also appeared, his hand outstretched above Dong Xiaowan. You got him? Dong Tianba was stunned. When not even himself and his four elders could save his sister, this kid managed to save the day. Putting aside the fact that his first layer bone-tempering cultivation held more power than a seventh layer, his speed alone was inconceivable. In a casual manner, Zhuo Fan rubbed his presumably sore fist. Something just came towards my fist. Oh, it stings. His words startled everyone, and Dong Tianba even began to laugh. Ha ha, great. Bro, how did you do it? I couldn't even see him. Do you even need to see? Zhuo Fan rose an eyebrow and sported a vague smile. Isn't his target obvious? If you build a wall next to her, he's bound to bump into it. It was so obvious now that everyone could think of it. They were so focused on Lin Tianyu's speed mastery that they were led by the nose. But even with his impressive speed, his target was Dong Xiaowan. All they had to do was keep their eyes on her. This simple reasoning almost made them tear up. Amazing! An elder praised Zhuo Fan. Young Master Song is really a genius worthy of our young master's admiration. Ha ha ha, see little sister? Don't I always say Bro Song is a man of ethics and talent? If it wasn't for him, you'd never have escaped this predicament. Dong Tianba laughed as he lifted the weight off his heart. Dong Xiaowan blushed as she conveyed her thanks and appreciation to Zhuo Fan through her eyes. Waving it off, Zhuo Fan made eye contact with Dong Tianba. Bro Dong, can you stop? It's not up to you how it end. Picking up on his gesture, Dong Tianba walked before Xiao Dandan with a smile. Miss, we were lucky to have stopped this youth. I'm sure a disciple from Drifting Flower's edifice wouldn't cross her word. So let us end it here. I will be taking my sister now. With a deep bow, Dong Tianba was about to leave. Wait. Xiao Dandan eyed the crowd and gave a lopsided grin. I will forego this matter, of course, but too bad brother Tianyu isn't too fond of that idea. Humph, in all my life I've never been punched so hard. Lin Tianyu stared with killing intent. I am not one to pick on people, but this game has yet to entertain me enough. I would have to ask you all to keep me company throughout the end. What? While the others were lamenting inside, Dong Tianba shouted in anger. And when will the game conclude? It'll be over when I say so. Lin Tianyu sneered. This came as a terrible shock to the Dong clan. Wasn't it the same as saying it wouldn't end until they'd have no dignity left? You're too freaking petty to even take a loss. Shuafan scratched his nose and tightened his fist. Seems I can return this with courtesy. He didn't want to blow this matter out of proportions any further, but this rotten couple didn't know when to stop. Ha ha ha, this barbaric game is fun. Let me join too. Shuafan laughed. He attracted the eyes of everyone, and also Dong Tianba's confused look. Shuafan, however, didn't care about them. I used to play such a game with Bro Dong not too long ago. I ripped his woman's clothes while he ripped my woman's. The first to finish got the woman. Right, Bro Dong? Shuafan hinted. Dong Tianba quickly woke out of his stupor and nodded. But it seems this game isn't completely fair. You get to tear my woman's clothes while I have no target. Lin Tianyu mocked. You think you are all-powerful just because you landed a lucky punch? Ha ha ha, wishful thinking. Shuafan spoke flatly. Young Master Lin, are you scared? Or perhaps whipped? Chuckles resounded all around, Xiao Dandan's included. Despite being fearful of the 7 houses, everyone cursed them behind their backs. Lin Tianyu was livid but still deferred to Xiao Dandan by looking her way. Frowning, Xiao Dandan spoke plainly to Shuafan. It seems besides Shuafan, there are more and more people cropping up who slight the 7 houses. But do you have what it takes? If you can take even one article of clothing from me, I will kick Brother Tianyu out and marry you instead. Xiao Dandan's challenge first came as a shock. Then forced laughter spread as everyone came to realize the gap between the two. The 7 houses reviled those beneath them. How could they even entertain the thought of accepting a nobody into their house, as a groom no less? With an evil smile, Shuafan blinked. Miss Dandan, be careful of what you say, lest you'd end up crying. You're the one who's going to wail. Xiao Dandan stuck out her chin. All right, enough talk. Get ready, I am about to start. Lin Tianyu roared over their conversation. Dong Tianba was getting into position but Shuafan waved him off. Ha ha ha, since I talked about fairness, only I will be defending Dong Xiaowan, lest he'd use it as an excuse to be even more shameless. Bro! Dong Tianba cried but nodded in the end. I'll leave my sister in your care. He then took his elders to the side. Miss Dong, do you trust me? Shuafan stared at Dong Xiaowan. She jumped but nodded in the end, realizing the repulsive lecher from before was replaced by a reliable young man. Shuafan grinned. Great, enjoy the show. But just then, a cackle came into their ears. Ha ha ha, the last article is mine. Dong Xiaowan curled up in fear, but Shuafan was as calm as ever. He even had a mocking smile on his face. Bam! A crack resounded and Lin Tianyu didn't even get to touch Dong Xiaowan, as he was sent tumbling in the air before hitting the pavement again. He was filled with shock. You could see me? As he turned around, Shuafan's eyes were cold. Whoosh! With a crack of thunder, Shuafan appeared behind Xiao Dandan. His hand flashed and her dress was torn apart. You call that speed? Shuafan's mockery shocked the crowd. This kid is an expert. Chapter 94. What goes around comes around. Chapter 94. What goes around comes around. How could this be? Xiao Dandan watched the drifting cloth in shock. How could she not know her future husband's strongest point? Mary Woods was known as the Wind House, known for having the fastest speed in the empire. Not to mention, Lin Tianyu chose to abandon power for even more speed. He reached such a mastery that even a peak bone tempering expert would be left in the dust. However, a low-level bone tempering brat did the unthinkable and managed to surpass him. Not only was Xiao Dandan incredulous, but so was Lin Tianyu. His face was frozen in shock as no words could leave his mouth. As for Dong Tianba's group, they were slack-jawed, particularly young Master Dong, who knew Songyu for ages. Never once had he displayed such outstanding features. Yet, here he was, a third-rate clans member winning against a 7 houses disciple. Everyone became silent, with all eyes focused on the proud Shuafan. Their words stuck in their throat. Grinning evilly, Shuafan sniffed and said with satisfaction oozing from his voice, Miss Dandan, you truly are an amazing beauty, evident from this fragrance. I will never forget this soothing smell for as long as I live. Xiao Dandan stared at him with a red face. Lin Tianyu was turning green, his heart bleeding from hatred. Bastard! You dare harass my wife in my presence? Do you take Mary Woods for nothing? Taking a side glance at Lin Tianyu, Zhuofan grinned inside and flashed before Xiao Dandan. She then cried in panic when Zhuofan hugged her. She tried to resist but was a moot effort against Zhuofan's cultivation. Damn brat! What do you think you're doing? Lin Tianyu roared. Zhuofan watched the red-faced Xiao Dandan and raised an eyebrow in challenge. Miss Dandan, I'm not as flimsy as that weak lord. I've always learned to take the initiative with a woman. My actions were a bit rude to you, miss. So you can hit me or curse me, but I'll still do the same. Xiao Dandan was glaring at him, yet her heart stirred. Zhuofan's pushy attitude was worlds apart from Lin Tianyu's flattery. This feeling was so new to her that she didn't know where to place it. Rotten brat, let go or you'll be sorry. Zhuofan was courting his woman before his eyes and even before the public, something that Lin Tianyu could not bear any longer. But Zhuofan was far from done. He pulled her closer instead, eliciting a charming cry from Xiao Dandan. It made any male on the scene feel their pulse quickened, swallowing dryly, and sporting wide and nasty grins. Meanwhile, the women around blushed. Lin Tianyu's face was ashen, wishing to tear Zhuofan limb by limb. Snorting, Zhuofan raised a taunting eyebrow. Brother Lin, isn't this a game of your own accords? Since time immemorial, the winner receives everything while the loser ends up with nothing. If Brother Lin wins, you'll have 2 women. If not, well... Zhuofan patronized, then turned to blow his hot breath in Xiao Dandan's ear. Miss Dandan, if I win, please be so kind as to kick this man out and make me your guest. His tone was soft, yet his words traveled far, particularly stabbing into Lin Tianyu's ears. However, this wasn't what struck his core. It was Xiao Dandan's blushing and faint nod. Zhuofan had given another wave of shock to the crowd, and many were now eyeing him with envy. Damn rotten bastard! He snatched a drifting flowers edifice's girl right out of that flimsy Mary Woods disciple in minutes. His skill is worthy of being a pioneer in the sacred art of chasing skirts. If I had such skill, I would also take a drifting flowers edifice girl for myself. Lin Tianyu trembled. His lips leaked a trail of blood. Bastard, you've taken this too far. Haha, what of it? What goes around comes around. Next time if you're lucky enough to win, then speak. Zhuofan's wicked grin wasn't in the least bit heroic or worthy of his conquest, but it made everyone's heart shiver. While the women were swooning, Lin Tianyu had a belly full of hatred. Zhuofan's incessant mockery was trumped by stealing his woman. This exceeded his bottom line long ago. Son of a bitch. Once I peel your girl's clothes, I'll finish you off. Lin Tianyu appeared before Dong Xiaowan. She cried in fear, but Lin Tianyu's evil clutches didn't arrive. A slap cuffed him over the ear into the ground. When he looked up, Zhuofan was back next to Xiao Dandan, continuing to mock. Miss Dandan, that limp noodle lost again. I'm afraid I will have to relieve you of another article. A rip was heard and an article left Xiao Dandan's body more exposed. Zhuofan lifted her chin. Miss Dandan, please don't blame my uncouth act. Her charming eyes rolled and her face turned rosy, playing coy. Can't you be more gentle? Ha ha ha, I am uncouth and unmannered. This is something that won't change for as long as I live. Zhuofan shook his head. Lin Tianyu's eyes were bloodshot and looked as though he was about to spit fire. Rotted bastards, both of you. Lin Tianyu went for Dong Xiaowan again with the same result. Zhuofan made sure to even slap him 5 times for good measure. And it resulted in Xiao Dandan's turn to loosen her clothing. Yet the lady hardly cared, making Lin Tianyu's coals of anger burn hotter. With but one flimsy and thin piece left on Miss Xiao Dandan, Zhuofan's grin turned maniacal. Brother Lin, final chance. If you fail now, Miss Dandan is mine. Wretched filth, you dare mock the 7 houses? Lin Tianyu spat, the ire in his heart having grown out of his control. Yet oddly enough, he was clear-headed enough to understand Zhuofan's speed overwhelmed him, so he chose another angle, using Marywood's name. But why would Zhuofan care when he even had the nerve to kill Hell Valley's elders? As a result, Lin Tianyu's words only worked to goad Zhuofan further, who, under Lin Tianyu's rage-filled eyes, landed a kiss on Xiao Dandan's cheek. Ha ha ha, I'm about to be Drifting Flowers Edifice's son-in-law. Why the hell would I be afraid of your goddamned Marywoods? Isn't that right, my lady? Xiao Dandan was so far gone, accepting anything he was throwing at her, that she nodded without remorse. Ah! It would seem Lin Tianyu had had enough and charged at the couple. He even went as far as cursing at his revered Xiao Dandan. Bitch, you are both a bunch of dogs. I will send you both to hell. He made a hand sign and a green gale gathered around his legs. The sharp whistling spoke of its deadly power as he kicked at them. He had foregone using his prize speed in favor of stealing victory by force. Mid-spirit ranked martial art? Razor kick. Xiao Dandan cried in shock. Lin Tianyu, the gall of you to try to kill me right in Drifting Flowers Edifice's city. Humph, for a skank like you, I will do the world a favor by killing you both. Xiao Dandan was now afraid after noticing the killing intent in his eyes. She was only in qi condensation stage, while Zhuo Fan was in his first layer of bone tempering stage. It was not possible for him to take on such an attack. However, Zhuo Fan just mocked, Brother Lin, is this your final struggle? Oh, how pathetic. Zhuo Fan's arm snaked around Xiao Dandan's waist while his other acted as a shield. Bam! The green gale lashed at Zhuo Fan's arm, but the sounds coming out of it was that of screeching metal. The kick didn't even scratch his arm, though his sleeve did turn to shreds, revealing an all-glorious and perfectly chiseled arm. This can't be. Lin Tianyu seemingly crazy as he muttered, You're a body cultivator? How can you be so fast? With a mocking smile, Zhuo Fan simply replied, Who told you that we can't also train in speed? Trading off power for such measly speed will only be done by a dumbass like you. Zhuo Fan's eyes evoked killing intent that turned Lin Tianyu into a shivering mess. He didn't get to react as Zhuo Fan kicked him on the head. Blood spurted and Lin Tianyu felt a sharp pain digging its way into him. He let out one final wail before his eyes lost their light and slumped on the ground. None of the people could believe their eyes. A simple kick finished a 7 noble houses disciple, who had a 6-layer advantage over his opponent. The fight ended not in praise of power or speed, but rather mockery towards Mary Woods. Miss Dandan, did you see that? I don't discriminate, I am as uncouth and rude to men as well. If your fiancé lives, he still won't see reason. I hope you do not blame me for this. Zhuo Fan acted like his crime never happened and resumed flirting with the lady. Xiao Dandan watched him enamored and blinked in joy. You've done perfectly. With you around, why would I need that trash for? Don't you worry, you'll soon join Drifting Flowers Edifice and Marywoods won't be able to lay a finger on you. Ha ha ha, thank you Miss Dandan for your care. Just that. Zhuo Fan eyed Xiao Dandan's last vestige of dignity. According to the rules, for your fiancé to lose, I'd have to pry out the last article. With a coy and blushing face, Xiao Dandan wrapped her soft lily-white hands around his neck. Brother, I am soon to be yours. If you want my body, you'll have to wait till tonight. Or do you want the people to see everything? Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan scratched his nose after looking at her delectable body. Then Zhuo Fan's eyes turned sharp and startled the flirting woman. Humph, weren't you listening? What goes around comes around. This goes for you too. Zhuo Fan reached for her last piece and Xiao Dandan was filled with fear. Would she have any face left to walk into Drifting Flowers Edifice if she went naked in the middle of the city? Suddenly a loud shout came, Stop! And 2 blue silk ribbons drifted over. Zhuo Fan's hand froze in shock. A profound heaven expert. Chapter 95 Bewitching Whispers. Chapter 95 Bewitching Whispers. Oh, P4553R. 2 blue silk ribbons shot towards Zhuo Fan. He thought of dodging, but he dismissed that idea. Despite not unfolding his wings, his speed was beyond the bone tempering stage, thus allowing him to one-up Lin Tianyu. This was a shock to everyone but not unlikely to happen. In the case where his speed was to match a profound heaven expert's, that would label him a monster. Across the vast world, he might be the sole person with such a deviant degree of body refining. It was tantamount to telling everyone who he was. I'll have to gamble. One ribbon tightened around him and made any movement impossible. There, he reminded himself. I just need to showcase how strong I am but within limits. Unlike that known deviant, Zhuo Fan, who could kill a profound heaven expert. The other wrapped Xiao Dandan in a protective embrace. What followed next was the arrival of the owner of the ribbons. The people lowered their heads in respect, as did Dong Tianba and his sister. Zhuofan only gave her a rough glance. She was a lady in her 30s, wearing a thin veil over half her face, yet incapable of hiding her grace. And with how high her cultivation was, it garnered even more respect. While she walked with light steps, her eyes were solely focused on Xiao Dandan. She extended a dainty finger and tapped Xiao Dandan's forehead. Yuan Qi entered Xiao Dandan's body and made her shiver, while also taking away the redness in her cheeks. Where am I? Xiao Dandan looked around in confusion, but when she saw Zhuofan it all came back in a flurry of images. She cried in shock and her face went beet red. How could I have done that? Silly child, you can't even tell when you were tricked? The woman in blue shook her head. Then her eyes snapped to Zhuofan. Little brother, if you are intent on chasing after drifting flowers edifices, girl, you can chase them using your skills. But don't you think using bewitching whispers is demeaning and vile? Zhuofan praised her in his heart. She's quite perceptive. Bewitching whispers affected a person's mind, so that the user could lead his victims to do whatever he wanted. This was how Zhuofan got hold of Xiao Dandan so easily. This little trick wasn't a demonic cultivator's secret skill, but not anyone could employ it. First of all, the user's soul had to be strong, which made most of the demonic cultivators beneath Profound Heaven stage unable to use it. And because this skill had limited power, most demonic cultivators did not train to use it. Ergo, the number of people aware of bewitching whispers were few and far in between. Yet, here was one woman who knew its effect. Zhuofan grinned, lady, I have no intention of chasing Miss Dandan. This is only for the sake of teaching her a lesson. Senior aunt, don't listen to this runt. He dared to humiliate me and looks down on Drifting Flowers edifice. Xiao Dandan was raging as she recalled the scandal she partook in. Even tears started swelling in her eyes. However, the blue woman eyed her coldly and shouted, quiet, haven't you had enough of disgracing yourself? Then turned to Zhuofan. I would have long ago put you in your place if not for knowing you had a good reason for using that foul skill to charm a woman in Drifting Flower City. The woman then turned her attention to Dong Xiaowan and spoke in apology. Miss Dandan was spoiled by her master. I will make sure to punish her. Please don't take it to heart. I would never. Dong Xiaowan was startled. The lady in blue smiled as she flew, and 2 ribbons took Xiao Dandan and the unconscious Lin Tianyu. But Xiao Dandan didn't forget to glare at Zhuofan with loathing. Zhuofan, though, did not care. He was thinking of the blue lady's last brief look she gave him. Thanks to Zhuofan's strong soul, he managed to sense it. Was I just found out? Zhuofan frowned as he watched her leave. Brother. Dong Tianba came with the rest to Zhuofan to express his gratitude. Thank you so much. If it weren't for you, the Dong clan's name would have been sullied. Damn it. None of the 7 houses' domain is safe to linger for long. Big brother song, thank you. Dong Xiaowan tightened the thin clothing on her body and spoke shyly. Not paying attention to any of this, Zhuofan spoke with a frown. Bro Dong, who was she? Dong Tianba's tone was grave. Drifting Flowers Edifice's first overseer, the Iris Edifice's Qin Kai Qing. As such luck that the one we met was the Iris Overseer. She is honorable and kind. She is known to never pick on clans and other disciples. But if it were Peony Overseer, with her fickle personality, she would have released her wrath on us. I see, with her cultivation, it is no wonder she is an overseer. Zhuofan took a deep breath and ripped the ribbon to shreds. Bro, how are you so strong? That was Iris Overseer's ribbon imbued with her Yuan Qi. How did you break out of it? Dong Tianba watched Zhuofan as though he was viewing a monster. I feel like I don't know you anymore. Laughing, Zhuofan waved it off and took out a small bottle. The Song clan is third-rate, but we have our ways. Look, this is our body tempering pill. It's all thanks to this that my body is so strong. As if. Body tempering pill is only a 4th-grade pill. It's not outstanding enough to make you stronger than a 7th-layer bone tempering cultivator, and break out of a Profound Heaven expert's restriction. Dong Tianba's expression remained impassive. Zhuofan smiled. It wouldn't be a secret method of the Song clan if anyone could refine it. You think I'd join the 100-pill meeting if it weren't for this? Dong Tianba was starting to believe him after hearing Zhuo Fan continue to praise the pill. But what they didn't know was that these were only lies made up by Zhuo Fan. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan was feeling vexed. He could not understand why Qin Kaiqing did not expose him if she knew who he was. Did she go to call for help thinking she could not defeat him? If that is the case, then staying here would be all the more dangerous. She could be asking for backup. Zhuo Fan said frantically, Bro Dong, I have some urgent matters to take care of. Let's talk at a later date. Sigh, I haven't given my proper thanks, how can? But before he could finish, Zhuo Fan was already meters away waving his hand as he left. Dong Tianba was startled but sighed in the end. Bro Song truly is husband material. Wan'er, you must be regretting your refusal by now. Brother. Dong Xiaowan rolled her eyes, but still peeked at Zhuo Fan with clear and emotion-filled eyes. Meanwhile, at the Drifting Flowers edifice in the guest hall, a charming and enticing woman in red sat in the lounge. She wore a thin veil, obscuring her most prominent features. But it couldn't hide the fire in her eyes that could stir the coldest heart. She was a true vixen. On her left was a middle-aged man, with even whiter hands than hers. He was stroking his goatee, but his eyes rested on her every curve. The woman in red rolled her eyes and smiled. Elder Lin, do I have something on me? Cough. Peony Overseer must be joking. The old man faked his cough and showed an embarrassed smile. I can't help but wonder, why isn't the exalted edifice lord present and it is the Peony Overseer who is welcoming me instead? Is Elder Lin not satisfied with me? The lady fluttered her eyes at him. Her gesture almost stole the elder's soul away, finding it difficult to reply. Peony Overseer is very considerate and kind, and ha ha ha. Humph, I came here to join the 100-pill meeting, not to see you two flirt. An angry snort came from Peony Overseer's right, a red-haired elderly. Since the meeting hasn't started, I'll be leaving. I have important things to take care of. Hell Valley's fifth elder, why are you so vexed? Peony Overseer smiled. The meeting will commence upon the edifice lord's order. The great houses have yet to gather, so it is only natural for it to take a while longer. Peony Overseer, don't listen to this old goat grumble. These days, Hell Valley was sacked of its 3 elders by a mere brat. They lost all credibility, so how could they have the patience to participate in the 100-pill meeting? Right now, 5th elder must be thinking of new and ingenious ways to skin that punk alive. Or maybe the anxiety of having his poor little elderly life in danger got him wound so tight, he has been jumping in his sleep. It must be torture, haha. Lin Zetian, screw off. I wonder how many elders Mary Woods would lose if they met that brat. 5th elder slapped the table and glared at the middle-aged man. Lin Zetian also stood up and returned a glare without fear. Won a fight. Their power was on full display and sparks could fly at any second. But laughter interrupted their staring contest. Ha ha ha, how rowdy. If you guys want to fight it off, count me in. Chapter 96 Vicious Pill King. Chapter 96 Vicious Pill King. Oh, P4553R. Those words were made by a man in a green robe entering the guest hall. His hair was green, his eyes were green, and even his beard was green, painting a particularly strange image. He had a violet gourd strapped to his waist. His appearance caused Elder Lin and the 5th elder to show respect. Master, you are amazing beyond words. Not even Hell Valley and Mary Woods dare utter a sound in your presence, ha ha ha. A youth in his 20s came following behind the elder. He was at peak bone tempering stage. Yet, his tone lacked the respect and manner one should have when talking to the 3 other people present there. The trio's faces turned ashen, their anger was slowly rising, but they held their tongue. This scene would shock anyone. 3 profound heaven experts were mocked by a bone-tempering pup. And they didn't even retort despite the rude tone. 5th elder, who was known for his quick temper, was also silent. A scene that even his disciples would find it hard to imagine. Elder Yen, you should mind your disciple. He doesn't seem to have any manners. Is this how a junior speaks to his elders? 5th elder said unhappily. Yet the elder in green caressed his beard with a smile. Hell Valley's 5th elder, why argue with a child? It doesn't befit your status, ha ha ha. Exactly, you're totally not acting as a senior should. So why should I treat you like one? The youth's brash voice was tinted with mockery. Fifth elder shivered and his face turned red, itching to pry this fool's head from his body. But he forced his anger down and resumed to clenching his fists. With a crack, a piece of the table was vaporized. Lin Zetian eyed the fifth elder's anger and secretly sighed. He had some reservations when looking at the elder in green as he forced a laughter. Ha ha ha, I'd never guessed such a small meeting will bring together 4 of the 7 houses. With Elder Yen attending, the meeting will run smoothly. Lin Zetian, you don't need to give me lip service. I know none of you see me eye to eye. But who told you to name it as the 100-pill meeting? You think it's worthy of the name 100-pill if I, Vicious Pill King, is missing in attendance? The elder in green didn't give Lin Zetian any respect and even mocked him to the point Lin Zetian turned his head away. Peony Overseer was livid, but on top of her anger lied a deep seething hatred. Elder Yen Song, Peony Overseer spat. Drifting Flowers Edifice doesn't seem to have extended Pill King Hall an invitation. So why have you graced us with your uninvited presence? Ha ha ha, Peony Overseer. You're as fiery as ever. With his eyes flashing green, Yen Song snorted, in the Tianyu Empire, I can go wherever I want with no one daring to oppose me. Now that I'm here in your Drifting Flowers City, are you going to kick me out? You. She was poised to attack, but Lin Zetian stopped her. Peony Overseer, calm yourself. Eyeing Yen Song cautiously, Lin Zetian sighed as he gave her a look. Before Edifice Lord comes, be careful of devolving the situation. Peony Overseer snorted, turning her body away, easing Lin Zetian's worry. Ha ha ha, Peony Overseer is like a lass so spiteful. So, it is a wonder to me how you still became an overseer? Master, you were right. A bunch of broads can never accomplish anything. Drifting Flowers Edifice is the worst of the 7 houses by far. The youth ridiculed. The eyes of the 3 turned sharply. Vicious Pill King is too arrogant and his disciple belittles anyone he sees. Their friendly conversation was interrupted when a sound came from outside the door. Little brother, Drifting Flowers Edifice may have only women, but it has stood strong in Tianyu Empire for a millennia. It has its own principles. It is not something anyone can criticize. Oh. A beauty in blue floated in, the Iris Overseer Qing Kai Qing. Senior sister, you're back? Peony Overseer cried, regaining her confidence. Where did you go? We have someone barging uninvited, and I am powerless to stop them. Peony Overseer's eyes snapped to Yen Song, but Qing Kai Qing simply smiled. Shouldn't you be taking care of your precious disciple instead? I once told you to raise your disciple better, not to disgrace Drifting Flowers Edifice's reputation. Who did she offend? Shaking her head, Qing Kai Qing simply clapped. 2 female disciples brought Xiao Dandan, who was still wrapped in the blue ribbon. With her curves full on display, she earned the youth's fiery gaze. Then 2 more disciples brought an unconscious Lin Tianyu. Tianyu! Lin Zetian jumped next to him. Then his look was filled with murderous desire. Who hurt him? The youth cut her off before she could reply. Master, is that kid's injury grave? That's putting it mildly. If not dead, then a cripple. The culprit sure had no restraint. Yen Song enjoyed others' misfortune. The youth laughed in ridicule. Mary Wood's disciple can't even take a hit. And his master is no different either. Lin Zetian gnashed his teeth, glaring at the youth. Qing Kai Qing smiled. Little brother is wrong. The one he met was an even younger man, whose strength is above all the 7 houses' genius disciples. Little brother is Elder Yan's disciple, but even you will meet the same fate. The youth frowned, filled with rebuke. Qing Kai Qing secretly smiled. Senior sister, why didn't you bring him? Is he stronger than you? Peony Overseer jerked. Shaking her head, Qing Kai Qing said, perhaps not, but you know how I am, staying outside others' affairs. If someone messed with my disciple, I'll intervene, but... Qing Kai Qing sighed as she looked at Xiao Dandan. Dandan, you explain. And be honest. I already know everything that transpired. Yes, senior aunt. Xiao Dandan sobbed a nod, then retold the events. The people there sighed at the conclusion. Not for the humiliated Dong clan though, since none of the 7 houses gave a damn about these people. They were considered slaves in their eyes. And their disciples were of the same mind. Some might be even more ruthless than Xiao Dandan. It was only thanks to the Drifting Flowers edifice's restrictions on their disciples that made them far more restrained. What was on everyone's mind was Zhuo Fan's conduct. Not only did he end the humiliation the Dong clan received but turned the humiliation back at Xiao Dandan and her fiancé. With such a savage method. Fifth Elder couldn't help associating him with a familiar figure. Didn't his actions resemble that of Zhuo Fan who killed the Seventh Elder? He stroked his beard as he stated, "Ha ha ha, what is wrong with the Tianyu Empire? With Zhuo Fan as the origin, many more are starting to belittle the Seven Houses, assaulting our disciples again and again. If we don't keep them in check, none will fear us." Isn't it all because of Hell Valley's incompetence? You have yet to find that insolent brat too. You're making us, the other 6 houses, look bad. Yin Song mocked. Fifth Elder wasn't angry as he turned to the youth behind him with a smile. "Yeah, it's all our fault. But for an elder to step into a disciple's conflict, isn't it more shameful? Lin Zitian, too bad you didn't bring another disciple to take revenge for Tianyu and save that Dandan girl's reputation." The youth jumped in front of Xiao Dandan before Lin Zitian could reply, and took her arm. "Come with me, I will avenge you." And with that short declaration, the two were gone, causing the Fifth Elder to show a broad smile. "Insolent. That brat has no manners at all. He even ignored my presence and took my disciple away." Peony Overseer's lip trembled in rage. Yin Song waved his hand as he walked off. "Ha ha ha, in this world, a woman's fate is to land in a man's arms. Drifting Flowers edifice wouldn't have lasted so long without this." When Yin Song was gone, the Fifth Elder's eyes squinted as he too took the initiative to leave. That old fool must have also sensed it. Peony Overseer was confused. "Why is everyone leaving?" Lin Zitian frowned, eyeing Qin Kai Qing with a profound gaze. "Iris Overseer, are you certain that troublemaker isn't that demon Zhuo Fan?" "What? He's Zhuo Fan?" Peony Overseer jerked. Qin Saiqing's eyes showed a peculiar light. "I am unclear. The kid is outstanding, but not enough to kill profound heaven experts. Maybe he is faking it." Lin Zitian then laughed. "I see now why even Vicious Pill King is impatient to watch the fight. If he really is Zhuo Fan, his disciple is as good as dead. At that time, Yin Song will make a move." However, his lips traced a cryptic curve. Qin Kai Qing finished. "It is unclear if Zhuo Fan can kill a man viler than even Yu Giki. After all, he is called the Vicious Pill King for a reason." Lin Zitian nodded with a mutter. "I just hope he is Zhuo Fan." Chapter 97 Scourge Woman. Chapter 97 Scourge Woman. Under the faint rays of dusk, Zhuo Fan was venturing alone through the city. He seemed to be at ease, but his mind was hard at work. He was spreading his soul to his surroundings for detection purposes. Yet, after such a long time, no expert appeared in sight. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe my cover isn't blown. Zhuo Fan whispered. As he strolled around, he ended up around a street with rundown buildings. This place housed people like Zhuo Fan, those from third-rate clans. "Hey, this is my area, take your things out of here. Cut the crap, I came first. What's yours? Get lost. Kid, you dare talk back to this young master? Do you know who I am?" "Humph, why would anyone care? If you think you're so great, then how did you end up here?" These events played out everywhere, the third-rate clans claiming a new dwelling as theirs. This was a place where the weak were despised. Yet, ironically, even these weaklings who were discarded in this dump, fought among each other. Humph, what a pathetic bunch. This is why third-rate clans can't amount to anything and deserves to be in the slums. Zhuo Fan spoke in a harsh voice, no longer paying them any heed. He walked further in and found the shabby buildings on both sides have already been taken. Everyone eyed him with open hostility, afraid he'd want to fight them over their lodgings. This seemed like a common occurrence here. Zhuo Fan scoffed, his every action was only to further his own goals. Fighting over a house disgraceful to him. Unfortunately, he found no place vacant as he wandered around. "Do I need to fight for a bed? It is much better to take the sky as my roof." Fan suddenly halted. His eyes watched the house before him with skepticism, then he looked at the people around oddly. At the end of this row of shabby houses, there was one building that looked to be in better shape, yet no one lived in it. With how rowdy the crowd was before, now there was no sign of anyone around. Frowning, he turned to the people fighting in doubt. Why are you foolishly fighting? Can't you see that empty house? Humph, you're the fool. If you want to die, go right ahead. Someone was quick to snap in derision. Fan was baffled. But one man was kind enough to advise, brother, you can stay at my house if you'd like. I will make room for you, but you mustn't step foot in that one. Why? Sighing, the man explained, you are new here so you don't know. The owner is a scourge woman, her body riddled with disease. Many have disregarded this warning and chose to live there. Even though they stayed far away from her in the back of the house, they all died 3 days later. Yeah, not even beggars would stay there. And because of lack of space in the Drifting Flower City as the 100-pill meeting approaches, we were sent to this dump. Goddammit, isn't Drifting Flowers edifice the ruler here? Why don't they just take out this scourged woman once and for all? Fan snorted inside. If that woman was disease-ridden, he had to see it firsthand for himself. You all are standing outside yapping on and on. None of you dare to take action and still want to send someone else in to kill her. It was obvious who were the true scourges. Ignoring the senseless chatter, Fan was walking straight to it under everyone's gaze. Brother, do you have a death wish? My life is boundless. Fan waved him off. Whether plagued or poisoned, while other people heated in anxiety, he was worryless. Demon transformation art could absorb anything in this world, even this disease. The closer he got to this plagued district, the colder it became. This made Fan frown. He found no plague here but abnormal changes that could only come about from an array. Who's there? Fan followed the shout to see a girl before a broken-down house in rough linen staring at him. The girl may be dressed in coarse linen, hiding her form and face, but her pure eyes caught Fan off guard. He swore he never saw such mesmerizing eyes in his life. What beautiful eyes! Fan admired. The girl's cheeks turned a tint rosier. Her eyes lowered a bit but still had the same coldness. Who are you? Who told you can come in? I am Nitrain City's Songyu, arriving here for the 100-pill meeting. Because of my third-rate clan status, I can only stay here. Fan cupped his hands, smiling like a gentleman. The girl frowned, her tone harsh. Then stay in another house. Aren't you afraid of death by coming here? I believe death is unimportant. I saw how selfish and despicable the people here are acting and couldn't recognize such men as my neighbors. I would rather choose death in this peaceful place. Stop lying. Think I'd believe your sophistry? She huffed. Helpless, Fan made a heartbroken face. Lady, I'll be honest. All the people before are stronger than me and I can't beat them. If you throw me out, I will die at their hands. To such a sound argument, the lady nodded, believing it somewhat. But Fan switched tones way too fast, which caught her off guard and caused her to be suspicious. Her tone grew colder as she asked, You're afraid of being beaten to death but not afraid of me? Do you know who I am? I do, of course I do. Fan bobbed his head. I heard them say there is a scourge woman here, that must mean you. But I would rather get diseased than die beaten. As they say, a flower should be allowed to roam free. Quiet, don't try to play smart with me. The lady snapped, her eyes darting around in thought. She pointed her white finger to a broken house. Sleep there, but you are to never wander outside at night or you will die. Yes, lady, I promise. Fan nodded, and when he looked up, she was gone. He narrowed his eyes and his revering gaze now turned to one of coldness. I couldn't see through her cultivation. Did she reach the radiant stage? Or maybe she's a common person. But how can a common person hold such a tone before a bone-tempering expert? Humph, how amusing. Fan's mouth perked up into a grin and entered his house. You must be up to something since you forbid me from going out at night. Then I will do just that and find out what you're hiding. Fan went to meditate. Time trickled by and the night cast a cloak of darkness over the slums. A sudden ripple came from the slums, followed by a sharp decrease in temperature. Zhuofan shivered and muttered, "I was right. It is an array." His hand flashed and revealed a small bottle. It contained the same pill he used in All Beast Mountain Range, an energy-concealing pill. Whoosh! Zhuofan flicked it into the air and a flash of red came from his body and swallowed it. The ethereal blood infant made Zhuofan give off a wicked smile. Not even a radiant stage could find it now that it ate that pill. Go! Blood infant went through the walls and flew deeper into the slums, reaching the furthest area. That place was in ruins that formed an odd array. The lady sat upright in its center, deep in meditation. The bright moonlight, with its extreme coldness, entered inside the array, then her body, while the rest chilled the slums. With each ray of power from the moonlight she absorbed, her body grew a sheen layer of ice. Then a green flash from her forehead pierced through the ice and slowly faded away. Each time that happened, the lady's eyelids trembled as if in great pain. Third grade array. A moon array. Zhuofan sighed and withdrew the blood infant. He now understood why the previous people died. He thought it was because of the Scourge Woman's vile conduct or her disease. But after he saw it, he knew that it was neither of those. She was only treating herself. The ignorant people approached her and the moonlight's energy ravaged through their meridians, and that damage eventually killed them. Moon array allowed one to absorb the moon's and cultivate, but spending too much time in it would throw one's inner balance out of whack. Yet, this Scourge Woman had no intention of cultivating. She was just using the moon's to suppress the poison inside her. Unfortunately, this was not without side effects. As gathered inside, her meridians would start to deteriorate, and one day, she would become a cripple. The more she tried to contain the poison, the more violent it would be when she couldn't hold it in check any longer. Could even take her life. Such a scene caused even the great demon cultivator, Zhuofan, to feel pity for the lady. Just what poison was so deadly that needed such an extreme method to suppress it? Chapter 98, Playing the Fool. Chapter 98, Playing the Fool. At the first ray of dawn, the moon hid back behind the forest while the sun was rising to take its rightful place in the sky. In its shine, the ice on the Scourge Woman thawed. The lady opened her eyes and sighed with exhaustion. "Lady!" A cry of shock came from Zhuofan, holding fruits to his bosom as he staggered towards her. The Scourge Woman jumped to her feet and waved the leaves to cover the array. Then she snapped a glare towards Zhuofan. "Didn't I tell you not to wander about? What are you doing here?" "A lady. You didn't say anything about going out during the day." Zhuofan acted oblivious to the array beneath him, pointing naively at the sky. The Scourge Woman was stunned, then blushed. She rebuked, "If you are to stay in this place, you must remain in your quarters even through the day. Or I'll kick you out." "Eh?" Zhuofan shuddered from the heavy injustice that befell him. He hanged his head and walked away with remorse. But then he turned to leave the fruits before the woman. "Lady, I find your complexion to be slightly pale, so I picked these this morning. Please take them. And thank you for letting me stay." Zhuofan sighed and trod away. He made himself out to seem as though he was a particularly bleak figure, filled with loneliness, who had suffered a dash of injustice. The woman turned from him to the fruits and her heart softened, picking one up. Zhuofan's back was towards her, but his soul gave him full knowledge of her every move. He let out a devious grin. So long she picked just one fruit, it proved he had made a breakthrough to her heart. Next, he needed to stick to her for as long as possible to find out the poison that had cursed her. There's a fine line between godly medicine and abominable poison. As the 100-pill meeting hadn't begun yet, he had no clue where to search for rare ingredients. Since he had the time, who knew if he might get something from sticking close to this Scourge Woman? Women are the best swindler and, ironically enough, the easiest targets. Zhuofan snickered inside as he slumped away from her sight. Noon. The Scourge Woman was doing her usual routine, sitting upright on a rock, absorbing the sunshine one breath at a time. A sudden hubbub pierced her ears, disturbing her inner peace. With fire in her eyes, she marched to the source. She watched a throng of people raving. "Kill him, beat that lousy punk to death." She approached doubtfully and witnessed Zhuofan wrestling with a stocky third-layer bone tempering expert. She shook her head ready to leave, but Zhuofan yelled at the top of his lungs, "I won't let you insult her. She is a good person." "Screw you. That scourge woman killed numerous people already and you still dare to take her side?" The stocky man he was fighting against punctuated his reproval with a slap. But Zhuofan was stubborn as a mule. He was mocked, roughed up, shamed, yet his eyes never lost their will to fight. "Humph, she's been living here long since you came barging in. Before then, some people die to God knows what, and you people start slander the lady. Can you even call yourself a man? Hey, this kid is asking for it. Finish him off." "Yeah, letting him live will invite disaster upon us. He is just like that scourge woman wanting to kill us all. But before he kills us, we'll just have to take him out." "Kill, kill!" The crowd began chanting like madmen. The scourge woman saw this unfold with a shiver as anger started to well up in her eyes. "Stop!" A crisp shout rang in their ears, even over the thunderous roars of the mob. They turned in shock, then shivered in fear, staggering away. "It's the scourge woman. Watch out, everyone, or she'll infect you if she gets too close." In an instant, the people around started to run off. Even that bone-tempering expert dismounted Zhuofan's prone figure and fled in fear. The scourge woman walked straight to Zhuofan and helped him stand. She only eyed the crowd around them, then brought him back to the plagued house. The mob sighed in relief and wiped their sweat as they watched them go. "Split the money!" A sudden shout echoed. The people gathered around again, and at the center was a pile of glittering spirit stones. The dazzling show of light struck the core of everyone. "Damn, this must be more than 10,000. Wasn't that kid from a third-rate clan? How did he get so rich?" "Hey, stop poking your nose in others' business. Who cares if he wants you to beat him up as long as you get paid? This must be around 50,000 spirit stones. That young master said each can take 1,000, not a stone more." "Yeah, got it. That fellow wants that scourge woman, so he wanted us to make a play. He is playing with fire. Who in the hell would go after a woman plagued with disease?" Bam! But his words were welcomed with a flurry of blows. The man turned in shock at the angry stocky man. "He told you to not speak of this once you get your cut. If just one of you has loose tongues, all of us will end up dead." What's so scary about a rich kid? Even if he might be from a second-rate clan." The first guy was still trying to justify himself, but the stocky man's slap left him traveling through the air. "Bastard, I told you to shut up. You can't even begin to imagine what that young lord will do to us if this gets found out." The stocky man's inflamed fists trembled with fear, recalling the scene of a man turning to ashes before him. Zhuofan let only him witness the almighty power of fear. The others were oblivious to his devious and poisonous acts. Nonetheless, since this stocky man was the strongest among them, if he was scared, he would share the fear and keep his words in mind. In a flash, they clamped their mouths and left after taking their share of spirit stones. On the other side, the scourge woman took Zhuofan to the broken-down house. A small bottle appeared in her hand after seeing his bruised-up and bleeding body. She ordered in a rather cold voice, "Eat it." Zhuofan knew it was a healing pill, but he turned his head away. How could those useless bone-tempering men even dent his perfect fifth-grade demonic treasure body? His wounds were self-inflicted to stir pity in the scourge woman's heart. And if he just ate the pill, the woman would just take off. So he put up a tough front like a spoiled brat. The woman, however, was perplexed. "What's scared? There's poison. I am not afraid of staying with you. Do you think I'm afraid of you poisoning a pill?" Zhuofan huffed. "Didn't you tell me to get lost? Why did you save me then?" The scourge woman eyed him deeply. "Then why did you still try to defend me before those people? Weren't you afraid of being beaten to death? If I had arrived just 1 second later, you'd have died." Zhuofan laughed inside. He knew that after a full night spent on absorbing the moon's yin, the following day would be used on absorbing the sun's yang to warm her meridians. If not, even the strongest of experts could not withstand the corrosive yin energy raining havoc through their body. When he did his rounds around the area, he knew the spot she picked for absorbing yang. It was all a matter of staging a good show with his fellow neighbors. Not even mild-tempered people could keep away from the ruckus once their meditation was interrupted. In layman's terms, It all went according to Zhuo Fan's foolproof plan to breach the Scourge Woman's psychological barriers and accept him with all her heart. Zhuo Fan turned his head and stared right in her eyes until her own eyes faltered away. He spoke with emotion. My mother said, "Eyes are a window to one's soul. There's no way a person with such beautiful eyes possess an evil heart. And you also let me stay. You definitely have a good heart. If those people slander you for murder, how could I stand by and not defend your name?" Zhuo Fan's open bootlicking was filled with childish naivety, lacking the feeling of deception an adult would have. If a lady heard it, she wouldn't loathe this childish behavior. On the contrary, they would like it even more. That's the secret to capturing a woman's heart, not using flowery and sweet words, but to stir her motherly side. This epiphany came to him after talking with Dong Tianba. He used to feel Dong Tianba and Song Yu were simply mighty silk pants. Though their chasing skills were vile and repulsive, it still achieved results. Therefore, he was using the same methods. It's true, the world is filled with wondrous trades. Everyone's a master in something. The effect was obvious. The Scourge Woman's cheeks tinted red and snapped, silver-tongued. But the eyes, though, now showed acceptance. "Thanks, Brother Dong. Thank you for teaching me the way of chasing." Zhuo Fan secretly sighed, but his face was still etched with that childlike innocence as he laughed. "Sister, I know you for so long yet I haven't caught your name. How is that long? We only saw each other 3 times. Rolling her eyes, the Scourge Woman mumbled, "You call me Sister Chu Chu." "Yes, Sister Chu Chu." Zhuo Fan put on a puppy-eyed face that made even him nauseous, but his hands were tied. Women ate them like candy. "Now take the pill." Chu Chu extended the bottle, but Zhuo Fan smiled and opened his mouth. "Sister Chu Chu, feed me." Sighing, Chu Chu shook her head helpless, glared. But she still extended him a pill with her dainty hand. Zhuo Fan saw her hand approaching and grabbed her wrist suddenly, pouring in his yuan qi. Chapter 99 Amazing Alchemy Skill. Chapter 99 Amazing Alchemy Skill. His yuan qi didn't travel far as a sudden chill, caused by the yin power, broke his contact, and a thin layer of ice crystals formed on his hand. Zhuo Fan was in shock. This didn't come as a result of the terrible chill, since it belonged to the yin power of the moon. What startled him so was the poison the Scourge Woman was housing in her body. There were 7 types of poison twisted inside, and each one of them was enough to leave a person dead as a doornail. As opposed to miraculous medicines, this was a certain death poison. With how the 7 poison were twisted among each other, even a radiant stage expert would be in endless torment before dying. He didn't know anyone so vile and malicious that would administer such poison, but one thing he did know, the poison was far too strong to be suppressed by the moon's yin power alone. And there was one more thing Zhuo Fan found inside her body fighting off the 7 poisons. A medicine. The Bodhi Jade sap. With his eyes wide, Zhuo Fan's heart was in exultation. Bodhi Jade sap was a miraculous medicine capable of reviving someone from an inch of death. A 7th, if not 8th grade medicine. 1 drop was enough to save a mortally wounded person. And this was what Zhuo Fan's aim all along. Now, he was apathetic to the Scourge Woman's plight, only having eyes for the Bodhi Jade sap to restore the Thunder Skylark egg. All that was left was to figure out how to get it out of her. This miraculous treasure wasn't a common topic he could discuss with her. It breached one's lifeline. "What are you doing?" Zhuo Fan's act was instantaneous, and only now did she pull her dainty hand away and glared in fury. His eyes darting around, Zhuo Fan put on a sappy face, rubbing his hands in worry. "Sister Chu Chu, your hand is so cold. Let me warm you up. Don't play with me." Chu Chu stared at him filled with doubt. "Say it. Why did you search me with yuan qi?" Zhuo Fan sighed. "I noticed Sister Chu Chu's unwell complexion, and since my clan is an alchemist clan, I thought of helping you. I didn't expect Sister to doubt me." Zhuo Fan now sported a face filled with injustice, and even sniffed to drive the point in. It had the obvious effect, and Chu Chu's heart softened and her eyes no longer glared. "My injury isn't something a third-rate clan can help with. But thank you." "Who says that?" Zhuo Fan raised his head, like an indignant child. "My Song clan from Nitrain City have been alchemists for generations. My dad is a third-grade alchemist and passed his teachings on to me. If you don't believe it, come and see my skills. Zhuofan grabbed Chuchu's soft hand and went outside. Chuchu was so stunned she forgot to fight back. No matter what she was thinking, she didn't seem to want to cut at this big boy's enthusiasm. Zhuofan led Chuchu through some broken-down houses, to the fright of the new locals. Of course, most of them were in fear of the Scourge Woman while only one man felt dread from Zhuofan. He was the stocky man who witnessed Zhuofan's vicious methods. The pair arrived at the tavern where Dong Tianba stayed. In his rush before, he even left the Song carriage here. It contained the ingredients the Song clan readied for the meeting. Bro! He ran right into the Dong siblings. Dong Tianba was in glee while Dong Xiaowan gave a bashful nod. Big brother Song. Yet, Dong Xiaowan felt something strange as she caught his hand holding Chuchu's wrist. Dong Tianba noticed this also and felt awkward. Bro? Who is she? Sister Chuchu, a new friend. Zhuofan smiled. At his words, Dong Tianba dragged him to the side with a raised eyebrow. Wait to go, bro. You got one just as you arrived. Ha ha ha. It's all thanks to brother Dong. Zhuofan's words came from his heart. You'd think a cultivation maniac like him would know how to get close to Chuchu if not for yesterday's long chat with this prodigal son. Stealing a glance at Chuchu, Dong Tianba gave a lustful grin. Bro, is she hot? I can't tell from her clothes, but she should be hiding something amazing. I'm not sure since I never saw her body. What? Dong Tianba cried out. Not even her face? And you want to bet her? Zhuofan shrugged. Don't be like that. I don't look at her like that anyway. Zhuofan brushed past him, letting him stand dumbstruck, his brows furrowed in deep confusion. If a man isn't after a woman for her body, then is it for love? When did my dear bro change so much? Brother Dong, where's my carriage? Dong Tianba recovered only after he heard Zhuofan's yell. He replied, in the back of the tavern. Come with me. Dong Tianba led them out back and Zhuofan went right inside the carriage, beginning to take out all the glittering and odd ingredients. He didn't look at all serious. Instead, he was as pure as a child. Chuchu found it normal, but the Dong siblings were startled. Where did the vicious and sinister Zhuofan of yesterday go? Dong Tianba then realized. It seems that love can make a man go crazy. Bro, you are caught in a love trap. Not minding the looks he got, Zhuofan met Chuchu's eyes and spoke with a boyish smile. Sister Chuchu, watch closely. His hand now held a scarlet yuan qi flame, throwing dozens of ingredients inside. Yet it was amazing how the ingredients didn't mix. What precise control! Dong Tianba exclaimed. A third-grade alchemist could, at best, handle 9 ingredients at once. But Zhuofan made light work of dozens. His skill went beyond the 4th grade, perhaps even 5th. 4th grade alchemists were seen only in second-rate clans, 5th grade and first-rate clans. As for those above, they were talents raised in the 7 houses. Dong Tianba just couldn't believe it. When he met Song Yu again in this city, he discovered that not only did his power sword, but even his alchemy ability jumped. If he had one iota of skill he shows today at the start, the clan head wouldn't have refused him. Dong Xiaowan was watching him with an even more amazed expression. Chuchu nodded faintly, her eyes evoking praise. His skill at his age made Zhuofan a diamond in the rough. But Zhuofan wasn't going for just praise, he wanted shock. Only shock was enough to assure Chuchu of his alchemy ability, and let him have the Bodhi Jade sap. Then Zhuofan's eyes narrowed and gripped the scarlet flame containing the ingredients, putting it out. Only a weak trail of smoke was left behind. What are you doing? Dong Tianba cried. I thought this guy improved, but why does he suddenly lack common sense? If you forge all the ingredients together and put out the flame, you'll ruin them. Chuchu shook her head with a light smile. He is still a child. How can you refine with an unsteady heart? Then among the pitying gazes, Zhuofan smirked mysteriously. As an alchemist, how can I not know when my pill is ruined? I don't need you to remind me. With a smug smile, Zhuofan opened his hand. A piercing red light flashed and left behind a round red and glossy pill. How is this possible? Dong Tianba was beyond shocked, not daring to even believe this was real. It went against all alchemical common sense. From the gloss and the fragrance, it denoted it as a second-grade pill but of top quality. It had a far greater value than any pill of the same grade. An apt description would be, a pill that jumped grades. Chu-Chu narrowed her eyes in shock. This was her first time witnessing such a skill. Zhuofan snickered inside. This refining method was called Universe Palm, taken from the 9 Serenities secret records. It preserved the ingredients' effects and even boosted the pill to top quality. It was no wonder those in the mortal domain were oblivious to it, since not even the sacred domain was aware of its existence. How could mortals even begin to understand the secret methods of the ancients? It was all for the sake of getting that Bodhi jade sap, or Zhuofan wouldn't have revealed such a technique. To common folk, this secret art meant nothing, but to alchemists they would rave over it. He'd be inviting disaster if they knew of it. But these potential issues were for him to deal with in the future. All that mattered now was gaining Chu-Chu's trust. Zhuofan grinned as he brought the glossy red pill before Chu-Chu. Sister Chu-Chu, I felt your hand freezing, so this young pill is for you. Chu-Chu raised her eyebrow, but mocked instead. I appreciate your kindness, but young pill is a second-grade pill. It has no effect on me. How can you be certain if you haven't tried it yet? Zhuofan's cryptic smile left Chu-Chu in doubt, but she also knew this pill wasn't ordinary thanks to the special method he employed in refining it. She chose to take it after some muttering. Chu-Chu suddenly felt her body shivering, her eyes filled with shock. She had an expression that no one could decipher. Chapter 100 Rainbow Cloud Palm. Chapter 100 Rainbow Cloud Palm. How is this possible? Chu-Chu exclaimed. That pill was unlike any she had taken. It dissolved in an instant into a miniature sun and caused her to let out a scorching breath. The strong pill effect traveled to every corner of her body, warming it up. When the effect faded, a comfortable feeling still lingered, while also dispelling most of the power damaging her meridian she absorbed last night. Chu-Chu was incredulous such an astonishing pill existed in this world. Her yuan qi was of yin attribute, and normal yang attribute pills would be rendered useless. As such, a mere second-grade yang pill should have already been offset by her body before it could help dispel the moon's yin power inside her. But Zhuofan's pill was burning like the sun, yet it was gentle, nurturing the recovery of her meridians. The crux of it all was that her yuan qi didn't fight against it, allowing her to capitalize on the pill's entire effect. This went beyond even her wildest dreams. A pair of sparkling eyes stared at Zhuofan's. Zhuofan was gleeful inside as he smiled. How is it, Sister Chu-Chu? My pill is different from the rest. Chu-Chu nodded unconsciously as she praised. You are so young yet using such an enigmatic refining skill. In a few years the entire empire will know your name. It has already, though you don't know it yet. Zhuofan cursed inside, but his face still evoked the same boyish smile. Then Sister Chu-Chu, if there's anything hurting your body, I will make it sure that it stop. Chu-Chu jerked. Zhuofan's words struck a chord in her. She knew her own body all too well and needed a great alchemist to remove the poison. However, Chu-Chu muttered to herself. Zhuofan was always watching her, his heart stretched taut. If his mind could be heard it would be like, what's the holdup? Hurry up and fork that damn Bodhi jade sap over. If you don't have it, then point me in the right direction at least. Then a laugher suddenly resounded. Ha, took you long enough. I've been waiting here for a whole day, brat. 2 figures landed from the sky. One was dressed in red, the beautiful figure of the girl Zhuofan humiliated yesterday, Xiao Dandan. The other was a man, a handsome youth in green and with an eerie green flicker in his eye. Dong Tianba and his sister jumped in shock. Chu-Chu was also affected, staring at the two with a complicated gaze. While Zhuofan's expression was grave, his eyes glinting dangerously. Son of a bitch. I almost had it. Your meddling warrants death. Zhuofan was itching to snap these two's necks, but noticing Chu-Chu. Forget it, I'll keep playing the naive child. Punk, I heard you were quite strong. Sister Chu-Chu, they're picking on me. Beat them up. While the smug green youth was pointing at him, Zhuofan pulled on Chu-Chu's clothes. He was striking an uncanny resemblance to a younger brother bullied by others and asking his boss for help. This caused a widespread shock to all that knew of yesterday's affair. The green youth's face twitched, watching Xiao Dandan in skepticism. Miss Dandan, is he the one who was hard on you yesterday? Is he the same insufferably arrogant punk? Why is it he has not one bone in his back? Xiao Dandan felt dizzy. He wasn't like this before. He was even bossy with my senior aunt. Is he bipolar? Young Master Yen, he is, but he wasn't like this yesterday. Humph, whatever. Since he is the one, I will give him a reckoning for what happened to you. Snorting, he said to Zhuofan, I don't care if you're a spineless coward or a retard. Since you offended people from the 7 houses, you deserve death. With how skilled and heavy-handed you were when dealing with Lin Tianyu, you are worthy of my personal involvement. You beat Lin Tianyu? Weren't you weaker than even a third-rate clan's disciple? Zhuofan's eyes darted everywhere, then gave an embarrassed smile. If I say he tripped and hurt himself, would you believe me? Everyone almost lost balance and collapsed. Dude, can't you come up with a more realistic lie? Chu Chu smiled out of anger. Song Yu, if you admit you lied to me from the start, I can still forgive you. But you are clearly taking me for a fool. Chu Chu brushed her sleeve and vanished, leaving only her angry voice in his ear. Humph, since you court it, you deal with it. Sister Chu Chu, let me explain. Zhuofan trailed, but she was gone. When Zhuofan turned around, his eyes were cold and deadly. His previous cute and adorable look was gone, replaced with murderous desire. You bastard, couldn't you wait a minute more? You ruined my plan. Zhuofan's tone carried a vicious desire for revenge, making Xiao Dandan shiver as she hid behind the green youth. Even the youth held a serious expression. From being in contact with so many people from the 7 houses, it was easy to figure out a man's nature from a single glance. But Zhuofan's naked killing intent made his judgment moot. Such savagery only came from the kind of beast. Humph, from how tough you act, it is no wonder that you dealt a heavy blow to Lin Tianyu. The green youth mocked. Too bad you met me, Pill King Hall, vicious Pill King. Yen Song's head disciple, Yen Fu. I am unlike that trash from Merrywoods who indulges in lust. I am the vicious Pill King's successor. Zhuofan frowned. Vicious Pill King was the title of the best alchemist in Pill King Hall. But the first in Pill King Hall wasn't like the first in any other clans. To some clans, their number 1 alchemist title was gained by being the best in alchemy. But in Pill King Hall, it not only represented alchemy but also concocting poison unlike any other. From this his title, Vicious Pill King. It could be said that he was the mightiest killer and savior in the world. With life and death in his hands, he became known as a true Pill King. In other words, this kid's good at poisons. Humph! Zhuofan mocked inside. Poison might inconvenience the rest, but to him it had no effect. See how I use my demon transformation art, and wring your cultivation dry. With a crack of lightning, Zhuofan appeared before Yen Fu. The shock Yen Fu felt was palpable, not expecting the first layer of bone-tempering stage cultivator to employ such speed. It was no wonder that Merrywood's disciple who despite his focus on speed lost so badly. Yet before he could react, Zhuofan kicked him in the stomach. Spewing blood, Yen Fu flew out, making a human-shaped hole in the wall around the tavern and bounced 50 meters in the street. Everyone was slack-jawed. To be honest, if not for Zhuofan's irritated state, he would have toned it down. Casting a side glance at Xiao Dandan, she was scared out of her wits. Zhuofan sneered, no matter who you call, they'll all end the same. Do you women from Drifting Flowers edifice can only rely on men? Ha ha ha. Zhuofan walked away and left her crying, feeling wronged. Zhuofan's contempt and harsh tone cut deep into her. It was no longer humiliation but despise. Going through the broken wall, Zhuofan walked towards Yen Fu, who was getting up. The tavern's customers and the bystanders hid when they saw it was a fight involving the 7 houses. He, quite fast, the fastest beneath profound heaven stage I reckon. Yen Fu sneered as he wiped the blood from his mouth. Zhuofan snickered. Well, this is a first, seeing one happy to be beaten. Humph, I am happy, but of certain victory. Victory? Zhuofan disdained. I know Pill King Hall can make pills as well as poisons. But you think you can beat me with poisons? Ha ha ha, debased punk. You know nothing of the world. Yen Fu's eyes flashed as he laughed. My master is vicious Pill King, revered by all. If not for his poisons, why do you think the 7 houses fear him? Yen Fu spread his arms. A mist flew from his palms that gradually changed its color, soon letting out 3 different types of light. Red, yellow and green interweaved. Zhuofan scratched his nose, feeling slightly numb. Crud, this punk's poison skills are good to the point that even I have been affected. He was cursing inside, however. Zhuofan had a calm expression on the outside. He have a taste of Pill King Hall's legacy. Profound ranked martial art, Rainbow Cloud Palm. 14 chapters a week again. This will be the last dump for a long time. We will reach /surpass manga this week. Chapter 101 Lunatic. Chapter 101 Lunatic. P4553R. With his final words, the palms gushed out a tricolored mist. In a mere blink, it rotated around him like a tornado, obscuring his form. Zhuofan gave a cold laugh inside. Those from Pill King Hall are focused on practicing poison, and just like Mary Woods, who focus on speed, their bodies aren't tempered at all. Their bodies were weak. And to cover it up, he hid in the mist at a safe distance. Too bad your trick won't work on me. His eyes flashed and Zhuofan charged, planning on wringing the punk's neck in one move. But he stopped soon after as he looked at the mist. He realized something. Damn, it's a trap. He came here to exact revenge for Xiao Dandan, but in fact, he's been egged on to come here and probe me. If not, Drifting Flowers Edifice's men would have come to settle their disciples' matter. Why would they let this kid steal the limelight? Zhuofan breathed in and his eyes returned to the usually calm and calculative look. Iris Overseer is unclear on who I am and tricked this kid into testing me. I can assume there are a few profound heaven experts already watching. Humph, not a bad plan. Zhuofan laughed coldly inside as he withdrew, no longer having the desire to kill in his eyes. Under these circumstances, he must not win no matter what. Ha ha ha, punk, weren't you cocky of your speed? Come on then. Yen Fu's egotistical voice came from inside the mist. Zhuofan tapped his chin with a faint smile. Ha ha, think I'm stupid? You come out if you dare. I don't believe you'll stay there for a lifetime. When you're out of yuan qi, I will put you in your place. Humph, you're sadly mistaken if you think the Rainbow Cloud Palm is only used for defense. I will let you experience the perfect martial art. Whoosh! 3 tendrils of mist moved from the tornado like hands going after Zhuofan, their speed no less than his. Zhuofan ducked and dodged through the gaps in the attacks. But the tendrils suddenly turned and came from his back. Ha ha, now you see, punk? Pill King Hall's Rainbow Cloud Palm isn't just for defense. No matter what you do, you will still die. Yen Fu was cackling smugly while Zhuofan was dodging with contempt. Poison users were strong and weak at the same time. Before the poison was dispelled, the user would be invincible. But after, he was the weakest person ever. He'd be even weaker than a cultivator at the same stage. Among the 10 ancient emperors, not one relied on poison as their main path. The Pill King Hall was so stuck up because of this technique because there hadn't been anyone who could counter it. Humph, once I deal with your palm technique, the Pill King Hall will be kicked out of the 7 houses. See how you'll cry then. As for now, Humph, I'll endure. Zhuofan gnashed his teeth. But his silence only worked to bolster Yen Fu's haughty attitude. Thinking he was scared, punk, don't think you can mess with 7 noble houses just because you're a bit stronger than average. You might not care about the rest of them, but let me tell you, when provoking Pill King Hall, all that you'll receive is death. The hell, when did I go and do that? Didn't you pick on me on purpose? Gasping, Zhuofan clenched his fists. This punk is too damn patronizing. I might fake defeat, but not before I let him have a small taste. At this thought, Zhuofan stopped his running as if tired. Yen Fu was thrilled, sending the red, yellow and green tendrils of poisonous mist right for him. But Zhuofan squinted and with a loud bang, he charged through the 3 tendrils of poison and into the mist like an artillery shell. Yen Fu could foresee what Zhuofan was planning to do and became startled. He was preparing to move out of the way. But he was late to react and Zhuofan was already before him, his hand clutching at his neck. Son of a bitch, if poison is so great, then you and I will die together then. Poison seeped into his body and Zhuo Fan's face alternated between red, yellow and green. His mouth and nose were bleeding constantly, but he couldn't care less, kicking Yin Fu in the chest. Bones cracked with a crisp sound and Yin Fu spat blood. His eyes were filled with fright. He couldn't believe there was a man who didn't fear poison and charge in with such determination. Most people would have hesitated in face of a poison mist. But who knew Zhuo Fan to be the exception? His method was that of staunch determination, choosing death for both of them. Was Yin Fu about to meet his end? Lunatic, you're truly insane. Yin Fu was going hysterical watching dark blood flow freely from Zhuo Fan's face. Grinning, Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with a crazed look. I am crazy. Since I'm going to die, I'm going to take you down first and avenge myself. Zhuo Fan kicked Yin Fu's chest 3 more times, breaking all his ribs. Yin Fu was itching to cry his heart out from all the pain. But this was just the start. Before he could make a sound, Zhuo Fan grabbed his skull and slapped him a dozen or so times. The sharp sounds echoed on the street as Yin Fu's teeth were flung with each slap. His eyes were wet but had no energy to even cry. The immense pain stabbed into his heart and all he could do was whimper. Xiao Dandan and the Dong siblings who came out of the tavern stared in shock. Xiao Dandan even covered her mouth, unable to believe what she saw. In reality, Yin Fu's injuries were superficial, hardly enough to kill him, while Zhuo Fan had poison coursing through him and his life was seeping fast out of his body. It wouldn't be long before he'd succumb to it and die. However, from the two's interaction, it looked more like Zhuo Fan was the winner, and was dealing heavy killing blows, while Yin Fu was akin to a loser kowtowing for forgiveness. This can't be. Xiao Dandan watched with mixed feelings as Zhuo Fan was nearing ever closer to death yet stronger than ever. He was clearly dying yet in his final moments he was the strongest in the world. She never saw a man like this, not once. Her heart was suddenly seized by regret, actually hoping Zhuo Fan would live on. Yet, she was clear that once poisoned by Pill King Hall, no one could survive, the rest of the 7 houses included. This was the terror instilled by the Pill King Hall. Didn't you say your Pill King Hall's martial arts are perfect? Didn't you want to kill me? Humph, we will both go down today. And all that's left is to see who is going to have a quicker death. Zhuo Fan yanked Yin Fu by the hair, his body trembling from the poison reaching his organs. He didn't have much time. Yet his smile was as crazed as before, slamming Yin Fu into the ground. Even if Yin Fu survived this ordeal, it would leave him with permanent scarring. Stop! A gale knocked Zhuo Fan flying as a green-robed elderly drifted to Yin Fu. He gave him a pill, checked his wounds then sighed. His poisonous eyes then snapped to Zhuo Fan, glinting with murderous intent. 1,000 meters out on a tall building stood 2 figures. One was middle-aged with a split mustache, the other was a red-haired elderly. The two watched Zhuo Fan with a sigh. They say that some are so stubborn they can't see they're going to die. This kid's desperate and suicidal act is Pill King Hall's bane. If the rest of the houses did the same, would vicious Pill King dare run rampant again? 5th Elder laughed in lament. This kid's character is something I like. Nodding, Lin Zitian said, I know now why Tianyu lost. It would have been a miracle if he won when meeting such a lunatic, one that is so strong too. When meeting an unbeatable opponent, one must not make an enemy out of him, or the result would be devastating. Most people's first thought is to run to save their lives, and by the time they react it would be too late. This is why Pill King Hall is still held in fear. 5th Elder nodded and flew away, leaving his words behind. It's a pity. With this man's strong body under my guidance, his future would have been bright. With Pill King Hall's poison in him, it is ruined. 5th Elder. Lin Zitian shouted from behind, is he not? Zhuo Fan? Startled, 5th Elder turned to look at him and shook his head. Zhuo Fan is as treacherous as a fox, cunning as a wolf, dangerous as a snake and savage like a tiger. Not only does this kid not look like him, he is all brawn and no brain. Even if they both do not fear death, they are totally different. Lin Zitian, listen well. Zhuo Fan is 100 times more dreadful. His eyes shivering, 5th Elder vanished. Lin Zitian was left with a hard expression. Hell Valley's fifth elder was the pillar of Hell Valley, the strongest. His words must be real if even he was afraid of the kid. Chapter 102 Bodhi Jade Sap. Chapter 102 Bodhi Jade Sap. Big Brother Song. Dong Xiaowan cried out as she witnessed Zhuofan collapsing. She wanted to go to him but Dong Tianba pulled her hand. Dong Tianba was watching the elder in green with a serious face. Zhuofan reduced Yan Fu to such a state and helping him would only incur the elder's wrath. It may not be righteous, but as long as you'd escape an encounter with the 7 houses alive, everything else was just details. Hey wench, take care of my disciple. Vicious Pill King turned to Xiao Dandan, his eyes flashing green. She shivered from fear as she pointed at herself. Why you mean me? Cut the crap. My disciple ended up like this for your sake. Who else should be looking after him if not you? Yin Song spoke in an irreproachable manner. Xiao Dandan was forced to obey despite her wishes. Yin Fu's mangled body stirred endless disgust in her. Who told him to stick his head out for me? Not me. He dragged me here to mess with Song Yu and now that he got hurt, I have to look after him? Picking up on her loathing, Yin Song spoke in a threatening tone. Wench, my disciple got hurt for your sake, and you're just going to ignore him? Shivering, Xiao Dandan shook her head again and again. No, I wouldn't dare. Humph, you'd better. My disciple took a liking to you, so you better not let him down or I will make you beg for the sweet release of death. Snorting, Yin Song left his precious disciple in Xiao Dandan's care then walked to Zhuofan. The latter was on the ground, seemingly having stopped breathing, but his mind was hard at work paying attention to all that was happening. Also, he wasn't as poisoned as he had let on. He just cancelled out Yin Fu's 3 poisons with the use of demon transformation art, and put on this act to dupe the crowd. Feeling Yin Song's naked killing intent with every step, Zhuofan's fist tightened. I'm already poisoned to death and a senior like you still wants to finish the job. If push came to shove, his only choice was to expose his real identity. Despite having a 5th-grade demonic treasure body, an all-out strike from a profound heaven expert would leave him with a heavy wound. At the very least, his inner organs would be damaged. Zhuofan was ready to react at a moment's notice and strike down the insufferable vicious Pill King. Suddenly, lighting crackled along his thunder ring left him startled. That guy can't be here, right? Yet familiar laughter echoed as a person flashed 100 meters from Zhuofan. Ha ha ha. And here I thought the magnificent and grand vicious Pill King was amazing, while instead, he delights in picking on the weak. It was none other than Sword Marquis Abode Xie Tianyang, the one who went through life and death alongside Zhuofan. Next to him was the same elder from before, 8th Elder Jian Suifeng. Well damn, you picked the perfect timing to show up. Zhuofan was in glee, sneaking the thunder ring into another storage ring while no one was looking. The crackling of lighting vanished but Xie Tianyang didn't care, as he continued to stare at Yin Song with arrogance. Twerp, did you come to butt into my affairs? Yin Song snapped his eyes to him, exploding in killing intent. Jian Suifeng rested his hand on Xie Tianyang's shoulder. Tianyang, this doesn't concern us. 8th Elder, Drifting Flower City isn't Pill King Hall's turf. Why should we be scared of him? Xie Tianyang grinned, sticking out his chin. Jian Suifeng shook his head. Ever since the Battle of Blue Expanse City between Yugiki and Zhuofan, Xie Tianyang had become a busybody. He just couldn't stand by and watch injustice playing before him. This quirk wasn't that bad, but it didn't do any good either. The elder didn't stop him in normal cases, but right now he had gone too far. To dare to butt in the 7 houses' affairs, this had left the Sword Marquis Abode's elders in a panic. He could not fathom the consequences. That Zhuofan was all by his lonesome self, messing with whoever that crossed him as he wished. But Tianyang represented Sword Marquis Abode. Just what did the elders teach him? Furthermore, did he have to go against the vicious Pill King out of all of them? Jian Suifeng gave a wistful smile as he apologized in Xie Tianyang's stead. Ha ha ha, Elder Yin Song. I am Sword Marquis Abode's 8th Elder, Jian Suifeng. Please don't mind the words of an ignorant youth. No wonder he dares act so presumptuous. He's from Sword Marquis Abode. Yin Song's eyes drifted over the two then shook his head at the breathless Zhuofan. Whatever. I'll let Sword Marquis Abode have this one and won't punish this punk myself. He inhaled my disciple's poison anyway and won't have long to live. Yen Song emphasized the word disciple, pointing out the fact his disciple was the one that would kill this kid. It was a message to them, it has nothing to do with me. I'm not picking on the weak, so don't you freakin' start spreading false rumors and ruining my name. Sword Marquis Abode. Jian Suifeng was clear on his hidden meaning and nodded. Ha ha ha, Elder Yen Song has a fine disciple. How could any common person be his match? This kid dared to mess with him, so death is what he deserves. Yen Fu nodded in satisfaction. At least you're tactful. He then flashed before Xiao Dandan and took her and his disciple away. His disciple won, but it was a wretched win. If he lingered any more, the Sword Marquis Abode might figure out his disciple killed his opponent with poison while getting beaten like a punching bag. He'd have no face left then. There weren't many who knew this to begin with, only Drifting Flowers Tower, Merry Woods and Hell Valley, but the fewer that did, the better. This was all to avoid making a disgrace of himself. When the old man left, Jian Suifeng took a deep breath. Though Jian Suifeng, who was filled with hatred, gnashed his teeth while looking at Zhuo Fan slowly dying. Bastard. He flaunts his power at every chance and disgraces all the 7 houses. Alright already. Do you think you're that monster, Zhuo Fan? That you can do anything you want? After cuffing Xia Tianyang over the head, Jian Suifeng shook his head. Tianyang, do you have any idea how dangerous that was? Unlike you geeky who likes to play games and scheme instead of acting on impulses, Vicious Pill King would strike at anything that earns his displeasure with impunity. Even against the other houses, no one can do anything to stop him. Xia Tianyang bit his lip and sighed powerlessly. You must be the Sword Marquis Abode's young master. Xia Tianyang turned to see Dong Xiaowan kneeling at his feet. Brother Song, you has been poisoned by Pill King Hall. Please save him. Xia Tianyang eyes Zhuo Fan then Jian Suifeng. 8th Elder, can we save him? Ha! You think there's anyone in this world that can cure Pill King Hall's poison? If there was, it wouldn't have grown into such a fearful figure. Jian Suifeng shook his head. Tianyang, don't mess with other people's problems. Xia Tianyang watched Dong Xiaowan hopeless. Forgive me, miss, I cannot help him. And left with Jian Suifeng. Dong Xiaowan cried as she turned to her brother. Dong Tianba sighed. At the end of it all, dear little brother Song met his doom because of us. We will return his body to Nitrain City and bury him there. The Song clan will be then declared our kin. Dong Xiaowan sniffed and nodded. Wait! A sudden voice stopped them. Chu Chu appeared. He's been poisoned by Rainbow Cloud Palm. If you touch him you will also suffer. What? The two backed off a few steps. Dong Xiaowan watched Chu Chu mournful. What can we do? We can't just leave Big Brother Song's body here. Leave him to me. I will heal him. Chu Chu bound Zhuo Fan in a ribbon and vanished, leaving the Dong siblings in shock. The Sword Marquis Abode of the 7 noble houses couldn't do anything. Yet a hick woman could. The two couldn't make heads or tails of it, but Zhuo Fan was the most in shock. He observed the 3 poisons in his body combining and ever-changing, amplifying its toxicity. Was there any other method that could remove it besides the demon transformation art? Maybe. His guess got him in high spirits. 15 minutes later, in the slums, Chu Chu laid Zhuo Fan on the earthen bed and her hand flashed with a bottle. The instant she uncorked it, the scent wafted everywhere in the room. Zhuo Fan was startled, yet despite his eyes being close, they still trembled. This was what he was after from the start, the heavenly treasure Bodhi Jade sap. A green drop landed on Zhuo Fan's lip, sliding in his mouth. In that instant, Zhuo Fan felt a boundless vitality soaring ever higher in his body, wrapping every inch of his body. He was so happy, but the sorrow in his heart dwarfed it. Sister, it would have been better if you dripped it on my egg. Chapter 103 Incredible. Chapter 103 Incredible. A green light spread throughout his body, into every damaged fiber left behind by the poison. In 6 hours, his face no longer looked ill. Zhuo Fan felt the medicine did its job and faked a faint breath, as though he had just recovered. He was muttering all the while to make his weakened state believable. Choo-Choo nodded slightly and helped Zhuofan to sit on the heated bed. She took a seat behind him, releasing a silver glow from her hands as she rested them on his back. Shivering from the sharp cold, Zhuofan sensed a frigid yin seeping into his body and flowing through his meridians to clear any leftover poison. His body had little poison to begin with, and the poisoning he showed on the surface was already cleared up thanks to the Bodhi Jade sap. If this process continued, the cat would be out of the bag. No one would fear Pilking Hall if their poison was so easily removed. Furthermore, with how knowledgeable Choo-Choo seemed regarding Pilking Hall's poison, if a drop of Bodhi Jade sap was enough to cure him, she wouldn't have followed through with the healing. Zhuofan was frowning at this point. No, I cannot let that happen. I can't have her realize the truth or I'll be exposed. So Zhuofan used the demon transformation art to remove the yin energy. Choo-Choo was startled, thinking the poison countered her efforts, so she added more strength. Zhuofan tweaked his cultivation method to match her rate of pushing Yuan Qi into his body until, at some point, Choo-Choo sensed her Yuan Qi moved uninhibited through his body. However, a light scowl adorned her face. I cannot believe the Pilking Hall's poison has reached such heights. The poison from a mere youth made me expend so much energy to dispel it. Zhuofan secretly laughed, creaking his eyelids open and putting on the weak and sick act. Where am I? Zhuofan turned his head around, puzzled. But he cried in joy at the sight of Choo-Choo. Sister Choo-Choo, you're finally back. I thought you're angry with me and would never talk to me again. Choo-Choo was slightly moved. It was unimaginable for this boy to be so happy about seeing her. Instead of being relieved he was still alive. This was clear proof he placed her far higher in his heart than his own well-being. Feeling warm inside, Choo-Choo raised an eyebrow as she smiled. Of course I'm angry. You, a body cultivator, trashed Yen Fu to such a state, and you still dare fake weakness before me? Speak, what is your aim? I don't have one. Just that when I saw you for the first time, you showed such a fierce attitude towards me. But I know you are a good person, taking me in despite your troubles. That is why I want to get close to you, understand you and become your friend. Choo-Choo gave him a long look and a smile slipped on her face. Humph. Yeah right, who'd believe you? I saw your fight with Yen Fu. You were so vicious in your attacks, using filthy language too. It was the opposite of what a refined young master would do when looking for consolation. Zhuofan darted his eyes left and right as he sighed in his heart. Choo-Choo is wise to figure out a man's true nature after just one battle. What she said is true. Why would a ruthless demonic cultivator act all kind if not for his self-interest in growing stronger? He always felt that only the weak would rely on factions, while the strong stood alone. It was the same for spiritual beasts. Packs existed only of low-level spiritual beasts, while 5th and 6th level beasts were solitary. Because once you had strength you did not need one to look for shelter. But how was he supposed to answer Choo-Choo? Mulling in his heart for a while, Zhuofan noticed Choo-Choo's stare on him. It was then an inspiration struck and he secretly smiled. Brother Dong, thanks again for your girl-chasing skills. Ha ha, Sister Choo-Choo, you really want me to say it? With silly laughter, Zhuofan scratched his head shyly. Choo-Choo's heart was growing in suspicion. Her eyes became piercing. Tell me, is your aim in getting close to me something unspeakable? It's not that important, just that I like you. Zhuofan scratched his nose, blushing. Sister Choo-Choo, you're right. I'm not that forward when making friends with anyone. Except beauties. Zhuofan's bottomless eyes stared at Choo-Choo with emotion. She was so stunned that a rosy tint spread on her cheeks. Why, you don't even know how I look, so why do you know I'm beautiful? Choo-Choo was starting to feel nervous as she stammered. Zhuofan secretly relaxed. The initiative is back in my field. Thanks, Brother Dong. Thank you for your skirt-chasing experience. Zhuofan was happy inside, but his face was giddy. Sister Choo-Choo, I already told you, your eyes are mesmerizing. The moment I laid eyes on them, I knew you were beautiful. Sophistry. Eyes have nothing to do with how one looks. Choo-Choo turned her head, afraid of meeting Zhuofan's gaze. Zhuofan let out a short laugh and pressed his advantage. Who said that? Mother said, the prettier the eyes, the beautiful the woman. Your mother is speaking nonsense. Really? Then let's see. Fan reached for Chuchu's cloth covering her face. She was startled for a moment before fleeing scared. Don't, I am hideous. I don't want to scare you. If you try that again, I will be angry. Chuchu turned into the scared rabbit hunted by the fierce tiger, running to a corner in the room and blushing in panic. As for her threat, it held no power. In fact, it was more dignified than her usual cold and unfeeling manner. Fan was stunned. Sister, I won't hit you. What are you so afraid of? Chuchu seemed to have recovered her usual self after hearing him speak. She shook her head. Don't joke around like this again. Regardless of your reason for getting close to me, I will soon leave this place. It's likely that we will never meet each other again. What? Leave? Fan was alarmed. He finally found this Bodhi jade sap and now she wanted to leave? Where do I go looking for heavenly medicine then? Where? Fan blurted. I won't tell you even if you ask. Chuchu turned and left. This will be the last time we see each other. Her steps were growing ever fainter. Fan's eyes now flashed with a trace of resolution. He would have to fight for the Bodhi jade sap if he still wanted it. But the opponent was a profound heaven expert. A noisy fight might break out and more experts would come. At that point his fate was sealed. Killing intent flashed in his eyes and feigned reluctance in his voice. Sister Chuchu, don't leave. I don't want to be away from you. Fan pretended to be weak as he got up, only to collapse forward. Even flung from 100-meter-tall cliff wouldn't put a dent in him with his bone-tempering cultivation, in normal cases. But women were women. Chuchu's heart turned soft and was by his side to support him. But Fan let out an evil smirk as he clawed at Chuchu. He'd force her to hand over the Bodhi jade sap. If not, he was going to pry it from her cold dead body. Fan wasn't kind, striking down even his so-called friends if it came to it. Since she was a profound heaven expert, she slanted her head the moment she heard the sound from the swift attack and avoided Fan's move. The claw passed by her neck, taking with it the cloth over her face and exposing a delicate and smooth skin. Since the first attack didn't work, he wanted to continue, but Chuchu's expression left him dumbfounded. Incredible! That was the only thought in his mind. Chuchu's features made her the most perfect, most outstanding beauty he had ever seen. This was even if he were to include his past life. So much so, he couldn't even conceive the thought such a being existed. She is indeed a fairy. Fan forgot even his objective. Chuchu was also lost, not having detected Fan's killing intent. His slack-jawed expression made her blush as tears pooled in her pure eyes. Bam! A crisp slap made intimate contact with Fan's face, throwing him into the wall. She picked up the rough cloth on the ground and covered her face before leaving, with the clear teardrop still stained on the floor. What's going on? Fan rubbed his inflamed cheek, finding it impossible to forget her visage. Who knew the world could birth such beauty? I thought what I used before was flattery, but it turned out to be true. Pretty eyes are always on pretty women, and she is the most amazing in the world. Fan sighed with palpitation and sorrow. Suddenly something occurred to him and rushed outside. But there was no sign of Chuchu or any trace of her Yuan Qi. Sister, at least leave the Bodhi jade sap behind. Fan was crying inside. Now I'm back to square one. Blast it all to hell. What was I doing gawking instead of attacking? Am I a lecher that can't move when he sees a beautiful woman? Fan cursed himself as he sighed again and again. Chapter 104 Second Layer of Bone Tempering Stage. Chapter 104 Second Layer of Bone Tempering Stage. 3 days later, the Dong siblings were asking around as they made their way through the slums. Brosong, where are you? Dong Tianba took his sister to a rundown house where he noticed Fan's figure through a hole in the roof. He was sitting on the bed with his eyes closed in meditation. Bro, I finally found you. It's good that you're all right. Dong Tianba ran to him but bumped into an invisible wall and was flung into the dirt. Opening his eyes, Fan exhaled as he stood up. With all the effort he put into cultivating these past few days, he reached the second layer of bone tempering stage. He had Yen Fu's 3 poisons to thank for that. Poison was also a tonic. Zhuofan refined them and also absorbed Chuchu's yin yuan qi, resulting in a 1-month early breakthrough. This advancement strengthened his body and speed by 10%. Now, the average profound heaven experts were nothing, and he could even clash with those body cultivators in the profound heaven stage. With a wave of his hand, he released the defensive array and walked out with a smile. Bro, a second-rate clan such as you coming to visit my humble home truly brings light into this wretched house. Please stop pretending. Dong Tianba patted the dust from his clothes. What's with this house? Why couldn't I enter and felt like I got slapped instead? Ha ha. You think anyone can just waltz in? Zhuofan laughed. These 3 days, I was cultivating in seclusion and set up a defensive array so no one would bother me. What, freaking arrays? Dong Tianba jumped, his 2 eyes staring at Zhuofan in shock. Bro, if I haven't indulged in vices with you for so long, I'd think you're a different person. We haven't seen each other for a few years, and not only has your strength soared, but you're also knowledgeable in arrays as well as having refining skills? Dong Xiaowan stared with her pretty eyes at Zhuofan in worship. Laughing out loud, Zhuofan hurried to explain, Brother Dong, don't tease me. I used to be so frivolous in my youth, but young Miss Dong and your grandfather woke me up. Let bygones be bygones. Big brother Song, it all my fault? Dong Xiaowan's rebuking glance seemed to be sending a message, though in fact it was filled with love. Dong Tianba smacked his lips. Little brother's glorious success leaves me ashamed. I'll work hard and one day reach new heights just like you. Ha ha ha, cultivation is based firstly on talent, second on luck, and third on diligence. If anyone could have become strong after just hard work, the world would have been filled with experts. Zhuofan gave a bitter laugh. Dong Tianba's talent will only allow him to reach profound heaven stage at best. Without a lucky break, he would never advance beyond that. But Zhuofan didn't want to curb his enthusiasm. Oh, Brother Song, where's Lady Chu Chu? Dong Tianba looked around. She said she'll save you and had actually done it. She is such a strange person. Why is it that I don't see her around? It's a long story. Zhuofan sighed, having recalled the Bodhi Jade sap and was filled with lament. I had the perfect chance and blew it. But regretting it now is pointless. If the heavens would grace me with another chance, I will definitely strike when I need to. Zhuofan was filled with resolve while Dong Tianba misunderstood. She left? Zhuofan nodded with a sigh. Bro, you have become so infatuated. Dong Tianba patted his shoulder. It's all right, lovers will one day reunite. Just make sure to not let her go next time. Zhuofan didn't get the chance to explain as Dong Xiaowan glared at her brother. Dong Tianba noticed it and changed his tone. That Lady Chu Chu must have left because she has another lover. Forget about her. The world is teeming with flowers, so you don't need to stop at the first one you find. Perhaps the one before you might be even better. Dong Xiaowan was bashful. Zhuofan watched the siblings act while blinking dumbstruck. Do I look like a man intoxicated by emotions? My only regret is missing my chance to get the Bodhi Jade sap. Though Zhuofan didn't clear the misunderstanding, he continued to speak. Brother Dong, did you come here to make sure I am still alive and kicking? Or is there something else? Dong Tianba recalled the reason for his visit and facepalmed. Brother Song, thanks for reminding me, I totally forgot. I came to make sure you're all right and, for the safety of both our clans, to take you somewhere. Dong Tianba then pulled Zhuofan. Zhuofan was baffled but followed after noticing how serious he was. Since he lost all trails on Bodhi Jade sap, it was better to go with Dong Tianba and ask around. The trio arrived before a tall building. The plaque on it left Zhuofan secretly giving a chuckle. Meanwhile, he had a vulgar grin on his face. Hey, Brother Dong, you just said you're going to work hard, but how come you brought me to this place? What place? Dong Tianba was clueless. With a wretched smile, Zhuofan pointed at the plaque. Brother Dong, don't play the fool. You're much more cultured than me. Look, it says bro dash. MPH. Dong Tianba clamped his mouth shut as he cursed. Quiet, this is Drifting Flower City. A place ruled by women. You think there are such places here? Then, Zhuofan blinked at the plaque. Dong Tianba looked where he was pointing and almost cried, Brother, please look closer. It's the Iris Edifice. After a long look, Zhuofan noticed right then when the wind blew the red silk away and revealed the whole plaque. Smiley face, play on words. The first character for brothel is the same for Iris. This was the Iris edifice, the top of the 15 buildings under Drifting Flowers edifice. And the Iris overseer too was none other than Qin Kai-Ching. Ha ha ha, so it's the Iris edifice. I thought such a place was uncultured and didn't bother remembering the matron's name and called it brothel. You're still saying it? Dong Tianba glared at him and sighed in relief once he found no one paid attention to them. Uttering the word brothel in Drifting Flowers edifice's domain was suicide. Dong Xiaowan pouted, "Humph, all men are the same. Let me warn you, both of you are forbidden from going into such places again." Zhuofan laughed dryly. "If you want to bother someone, nag at your brother. Why are you lumping me together with him? We're not related and I am a free spirit." "Brother Dong, why did you drag me here?" Zhuofan ignored Dong Xiaowan. The frown further emphasized the seriousness on Dong Tianba's face. "Brother, I have thought long and hard these past days and realized our misfortune came from offending peony edifice's Xiao Dandan. Among the 15 overseers, Iris Overseer is the most amiable and the easiest to speak with. I want to ask her to help dissuade this grudge. If not, even if we shave our heads and hide in a monastery, we'll meet our end sooner or later." Zhuofan snorted but secretly nodded. If that Iris Overseer had any intention of helping us, Xiao Dandan would have been kept on a tight leash. She did all this in an attempt to expose my identity. This was fine anyway since Zhuofan wanted to know the Iris Overseer in person, to figure out how deep her suspicion went, and whether or not his battle with Yan Fu worked to consolidate these guesses. Zhuofan nodded. "Bro, you're so thorough. The Iris Overseer is definitely a place the two of us must pay a visit." "Since bro agrees, then let's go." Dong Tianba laughed and produced a red invitation to the two Qi condensation young ladies standing guard. Dong Tianba bowed 90 degrees as he offered it. "Please announce that Dong Tianba and Dong Xiaowan along with the Song clan's Song you have come to visit Iris Overseer." "Humph, you think it's that easy for second and third-rate clans to waltz in?" The girls snorted. Dong Tianba was beet red in anger, but his bow didn't flinch under the contemptuous stare of the girl. Dong Xiaowan chewed her lip and sighed. She felt sorry for her brother, but there was no other way. This was the reception all clans outside the 7 houses got. Zhuofan wasn't known for his patience, entering while Dong Xiaowan was distracted. "Oh, ladies, do you know Xiao Dandan?" One of them looked at Zhuofan. "She is our senior sister." "What, you know her?" "She's from Peony Edifice while this is Iris Edifice. We won't announce your arrival even for her sake." "Ha ha ha, that's not my intention at all. But have you heard? She was stripped naked by a man in the middle of the street, leaving her in nothing but her underwear." The two's eyelids twitched as they nodded. That man was none other than me." Zhuofan let out a wicked smile. "Do you believe me when I say that if you do not announce our arrival, I will peel your clothes off in broad daylight?" The two recoiled. "How dare you? This is Iris Edifice." "Is there a difference?" Zhuofan stared them right in the eye. His killing intent spiked and a soul ripple swept the two. The ladies shivered. Fear had gripped their hearts. Wait here. I will go make the announcement." Unable to withstand his cold gaze, one lady ran inside, leaving the other shivering. Dong Tianba sighed. Ever since he met Song Yu again, Dong Tianba felt he was a different person, not only in strength but also in character, not putting even the 7 houses in his eyes. This was why he brought his sister along, to keep an eye out on this brother of his. But not only did she overlook his actions, the latter was now looking for trouble. "We came here to look for asylum, and you've come asking for help with that attitude? It'd be lucky if they don't slaughter your entire clan." Not only was Zhuofan indifferent, but he also had a proud look plastered on his face. "Bro, towards these small-time snobs, fear is the best solution. Hee. Bro, you." Dong Tianba sighed. He could only hope Iris Floorkeeper was open-minded enough to overlook this. Chapter 105 Bodhi Root. Chapter 105 Bodhi Root. The Dong siblings waited nervously while Zhuofan looked calmer than ever. The lady soon returned and spoke in a frightened tone. "The overseer shall see you." "Oh great. Thank you." Dong Tianba bowed then rushed inside dragging his sister. Fan swaggered in the slowest and most languid way, smirking at the ladies and giving them the middle finger as he passed. The ladies stepped back in fright, and only gained some semblance of reassurance when he was gone. "Hey, did you also report how vulgar that punk is?" the other lady asked. The first one was sullen, sister. I did, repeatedly. Then why is the overseer letting them in? She should have sent someone to put him in his place. The other lady was on the verge of crying. Sister, don't say it, it's useless. Do you know what the overseer said when I mentioned his obscene behavior? What? For words. Don't provoke the lunatic. What? The other lady was scared now, her eyes wide as saucers. She didn't know Fan's identity, but their overseer actually went as far as to recommend not offending him. Is he from the 7 houses? That can't be. The invitation clearly states Dong and Song clans. The Dong clan is a second-rate clan, and the Song a third-rate clan. It doesn't make sense to let him go unrestrained. This was the thinking of people who had yet to witness the sheer brutality and savagery of the infamous Fan. A madman wasn't scary, but a pig-headed madman was. Fan dolled up as Song Yu when he came to Drifting Flower City, but his demeanor was as frivolous and whimsical as ever. In any case, the trouble would fall on the Song clan, so he was free to be brasher than ever. With this incentive, he plunged the Mary Woods disciple into a world of hurt, spicing up the show by humiliating the Peony Edifice's disciple, and then trashing of Pill King Hall's disciple as the curtains fell. He showed no leniency to any of them, despite them hailing from the 7 houses. Yet, with all the trouble piling up on his head, he wasn't in the least bit interested regarding the danger he was bringing the Song clan. Even Iris Overseer was not willing to mess with such a lunatic, who had no mind of the repercussions. It was fine if he didn't care about his life but others close to him. This was a fact made obvious when he clobbered Yan Fu. Qin Kai-ching thus warned the disciple to avoid something she would clearly regret. The two though were unaware of the whole story, so they thought Fan was someone of immense power with a deep background that affected even their overseer. Fan had long foreseen such a possibility. The one truly frightening people were those stubborn and hard-headed people that were willing to forsake even their lives. In the eyes of those who watched his battle with Yan Fu, he was a man who had died once. And this only worked to boost his egotistical behavior instead of putting a damp on it, further removing many troubles. Bullying the weak and fearing the strong, along with self-preservation, was a law adhered by all, be it strong or weak. Even the 7 houses had to think twice when messing with this stubborn mule, even if they thought he was beneath them. With a dastardly grin on his face, Fan cackled in his heart. He was met with no obstruction as he walked with the pair of siblings to Iris Overseer's receiving room. She was already sitting there and watched in awe Fan strutting in. Please sit. I wouldn't dare. Dong Tianba dragged his sister into a bow while Fan slumped into a chair. Much obliged. Dong Tianba was scared witless on the verge of crying. Blast it all to hell. You're in someone else's house. If you piss her off, it won't be just the Song clan that gets buried. I pleaded with you all this time to behave. If I knew you this impudent, I would have never had brought you. Oh. Dong Tianba lamented in his mind as he rushed to make amends. Please ignore him, floorkeeper. My brother is rash and uncivilized. Please don't blame him. Ha ha ha, young Master Song is true to himself, why would I ever blame him? Also, you two can dispense the courtesy and sit. Qin Kai-ching said with a smile. Dong Tianba wiped his forehead and pulled his sister into a seat, while not forgetting to send Fan a glare. Fan ignored it, of course, since he didn't even see it. Oh. Dong Tianba sighed, his feature tenses as if at a funeral. Qin Kai-ching giggled, her eyes drifting over them. Young Master Dong, this isn't the underworld. Relax. Try to be like young Master Song. Dong Tianba right then noticed Fan taking a bite out of a random fruit he picked off the table. Dong Tianba's eyelids were twitching. He's too comfortable. This isn't your home, you know? But he only kept it to himself when he saw Qin Kai-ching's calm state. They said Iris Overseer was an amiable person, but he didn't think it was to this extent. She's so friendly that it should be easy to handle our problem. Dong Tianba bowed once again and spoke in a grave tone. Overseer, the 3 of us have come with a request. Do speak. Qin Kaiqing smiled. Overseer, a few days ago we offended Miss Xiao Dandan, and this had us in a fright these past 2 days. This might be presumptuous of me, but I want to ask the Overseer to mediate, to remove this grudge between us. The Song and Dong clans will forever be in your gratitude. I understand this matter and Dandan was the one going overboard. I will be sure to straighten her. Qin Kaiqing nodded, then smiled at Zhuo Fan. However, I can't help but feel intrigued about something. They say young Master Song was hit by Pil King Hall's Yenfu's rainbow cloud palm because of Dandan. How is he back on his feet after only a few days? Pil King Hall's poison isn't so easily removed. Dong Tianba froze but for a moment, then glanced at Zhuo Fan. Chu Chu was Zhuo Fan's friend, and it was up to him if he wanted to reveal her involvement. If he made a careless comment and invited disaster later, his dear little brother would blame him for the rest of his life. Zhuo Fan nodded satisfied. Dong Tianba was a black sheep of the family, but he had a redeeming feature: his loyal heart. As for Chu Chu, Zhuo Fan was also thinking of asking around for her. Qin Kaiqing was an overseer and ought to know of the profound heaven expert Chu Chu's Bodhi Jade sap. He was brief and blunt. I met a woman covering her face who dispelled the poison swiftly. A woman covering her face? Qin Kaiqing was caught by surprise. Yes. I met her in the slums, a woman that calls herself Chu Chu. The people there call her the Scourge Woman. Zhuo Fan fixed his eyes on Qin Kaiqing, noticing suspicion in her eyes. It was then that a sudden realization seemed to overcome her, but she quickly hid it. Ha ha ha, young Master Song is fortunate to have such an encounter. Your future will be boundless. Zhuo Fan squinted. I can only hope. From the two's casual talk, Chu Chu wasn't such a sore topic. Dong Tianba was scared she had some conflict with Drifting Flower's edifice that would affect today's talks. His hand flashed and a coral as large as a man appeared, glowing a faint red. This item was so rare that even Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. It was useless to cultivators, but its value came from its rarity. It was worth more than 100,000 spirit stones. Dong Tianba bowed again. Then please accept this for your troubles, Overseer. I accept your kindness, but take back with you. I will handle Dandan all the same. Qin Kaiqing didn't even glance at the coral. Dong Tianba bowed again in panic. This is but a token of my appreciation. Please take it, or I wouldn't be able to find peace. Bullshit. Riches are given in exchange for favors. If you don't take it, how do I know you'll do it? If you overlook this once we leave, that damn girl will burn our clans to the ground. And you might not even know it. No, you will most likely have forgotten us by then. At least taking my gift ought to remind you of our plight each time you look at it, no? Dong Tianba cursed inside. Qin Kaiqing understood him and shook her head as she took the item. Only then did Dong Tianba smile in relief. Qin Kaiqing clapped tryst and a disciple brought wine. Guess from afar. You gave me an immense gift. These 3 bottles of 100 Flowers wine is our Drifting Flowers edifice's specialty that helps in one's cultivation. Please accept my gift. We can't possibly refuse Floorkeeper's generous hospitality. Dong Tianba laughed as he poured himself a cup. Zhuo Fan and Dong Xiaowan toasted and drank. What great wine! Dong Tianba praised but plopped on the table unconscious the next second. The same went for Dong Xiaowan, while Zhuo Fan was the only one sober. Raising an eyebrow, he smiled. Overseer, is there something you want to say to me? Qin Kaiqing gave him a praising look and nodded. You're smart. I need you to do something for me. Do it well and the two of you can leave the Drifting Flower City in safety. Fail, and your clans will shortly follow you into the grave. Is that a threat? Zhuo Fan perked the corner of his mouth into a wicked grin. Qin Kaiqing shook her head. No. Fact. I know you're a brash and fearless man, but didn't you come here to settle the matter with Dandan? If you don't do this for me, I won't help you either. And with that last temper, your 2 clans will have no future. Zhuo Fan squinted. Let's hear it. And if I can't do it, I'm guessing you're going to destroy us anyway. Zhuo Fan's carefree tone seemed to say he didn't care. But Qin Kaiqing found this extremely odd. Who in this world didn't care about their clan's fate? Madman, a true lunatic. This man can't be controlled. Qin Kai-ching secretly sighed while her face remained impassive. I'm not asking the impossible. I only want you to steal something from me. What? Zhuo Fan yawned. Our edifice lord's treasure, the Bodhi root. Come again. The Bodhi root. Qin Kai-ching iterated. His eyes wide, Zhuo Fan's heart was in exultation. Bodhi root gathered earth essence and turned it into life essence in the form of Bodhi jade sap. Who'd have seen this coming? He just lost his trail on the Bodhi jade sap, and now he has clues about a Bodhi root. Bloody hell. This is providence, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan cackled inside, his eyes glinting with interest. Chapter 106 Scouting Drifting Flowers Edifice. Chapter 106 Scouting Drifting Flowers Edifice. As an overseer, a valuable member of Drifting Flowers Edifice. Why are you doing this? Despite how thrilled he was, it was best to cover all bases and know the situation in detail. Qin Kai-ching's eyes showed a deep gaze as her tone grew colder. That does not concern you. All you have to do is to get it. But Drifting Flowers Edifice is packed with guards. How am I? Qin Kai-ching cut him off. You need not concern yourself with this. I made preparations. After she spoke, Qin Kai-ching placed a map in his hand. Zhuo Fan looked at the multitude of colorful lines and symbols blended in an intricate mesh. It is easy to remember. Contains the Drifting Flowers Edifice's terrain along with the patrol routes and when they change shifts. With your skill, as long as you're smart, it won't be hard getting in and out. Squinting, Zhuo Fan put away the map in deep thought. This was the perfect chance to get his hands on the Bodhi root, but was suspicious that this might be a trap. Qin Kai-ching may have already known his identity and set up an ambush there. If he was against profound heaven experts, not even his wings could save him. Though it is highly unlikely for this to happen. If he didn't have the Iris Overseer's help, entering Drifting Flowers Edifice would be difficult. Have you come to a decision? Iris Overseer stared at his face, her heart nervous. Young Master Song. I'm sorry if I have to resort to unbecoming language when I say this. But if you don't do it and leak it instead, I will gouge out your eyes, retch out your tongue, and tear your arms and legs from your body. Ah! And what choice does that leave me? Zhuo Fan snickered. Although Iris Overseer, I have to admit, that is a bit vicious of you to do. Tearing my limbs from my body, retching my tongue out, and gouging my eyes is worse than dying. Knowing he agreed to her request, the Iris Overseer's heart eased. I am not one who takes killing lightly. But as you've seen the map and still chose not to agree, all those actions are to prevent you from leaking the secret, be it through writing or otherwise. Rolling his eyes, Zhuo Fan's mouth twitched. Then why must you take my feet? Is my feet useful in writing? I don't know. With what an oddity young Master Song is, who knows what you're truly capable of? Qin Kai-ching gave a silly smile, hidden behind her veil. Although her features were obscured, her beauty couldn't be hidden. Zhuo Fan sighed. She is quite the looker, but her heart is so poisonous. This was something he could understand. This world was one where might was right, and men ruled. A woman had to be vicious enough, poisonous enough, to stand tall in this world. With how naive and gullible that pure Xuaningxiang was, if it weren't for her encounter with the demon Zhuo Fan, she would have been Hell Valley's cauldron by now. Zhuo Fan started to recall the carefree life the three led in the All-Beast Mountain range. Those were the best and shortest days of both his lives. Young Master Song, you will go tonight. So soon. Zhuo Fan stared at Qin Kai-ching. He was impatient of getting Bodhi root, but not that much. Who knew the Iris Overseer was in even more of a rush? Young Master Song. There's something you may not know. Qin Kai-ching sighed. The Bodhi root is something the Edifice Lord protects herself. Only when the month of full moon does she go in seclusion, leaving the Bodhi root in the treasure pavilion's care. We are running out of time as she is soon to come out. Tianyu's number one beauty, Chu Qingcheng? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. What's her cultivation? Her stare was fixed on Zhuo Fan. Until she was certain he didn't show any odd reaction, she responded despite being doubtful. She is my junior sister, and should be in the third layer of Profound Heaven stage. Oh, that much should be possible to fight off. Zhuo Fan analyzed, then nodded. Then I will go tonight. Qin Kaiqing was overjoyed and released a scent to the Dong siblings to wake them up. Since they were out for the duration of the talk, Qin Kaiqing explained they fainted after drinking such a potent wine, but that it wouldn't happen again in the future. This concluded the meeting and Qin Kaiqing saw them out. Dong Qianba was more than happy to leave now that his aim was achieved. As they passed by the entrance, the two ladies were still in fear, holding their tongues in check. But once the trio was gone, Zhuofan threw a pill into the air. A flash of red flew out of him and swallowed the energy-concealing pill, then went into Iris Edifice. He was curious to know what Iris Overseer's true game was. Blood Infant moved like a specter, entering the drawing room without anyone's notice, where Iris Overseer was still sitting. A cough suddenly came and a person appeared behind Qin Kaiqing. Zhuofan cried out, "Vicious Pill King Yen Song. Why is he here? Why are you doing this?" Yen Song touched her shoulder and squeezed, making Qin Kaiqing grimace and her face flash green. Qin Kaiqing gnashed her teeth as she broke out in fine sweat. "Elder Yen, I am Iris Overseer. If I don't do this, I can no longer keep my position. Once the fool gets the item, his life would have run its course and no one will know of my involvement." "Humph, you're still thinking of escaping liability even when you execute my plans. If anything goes wrong with the brat and ruins my plan, I will have you answer for it." Yen Song clutched at Qin Kaiqing harder, throwing her on the ground. She could only let him do what he wanted as tears of humiliation streaked her cheeks. Yen Song ridiculed, "Of the 15 overseers, I control more than half. Drifting Flowers Edifice will soon come under Pill King Hall, and the first of 7 houses to be swallowed. Do you think exposing this will help you? As long as I'm here, act like the Iris Overseer you are. Not for Drifting Flowers Tower, but for my Pill King Hall. You heard the brat. There's someone in this city that can remove your poison. If your poison is cured, how will you threaten the other overseers?" Yen Song gave her a contemptuous and evil smile. "Were you always waiting for the arrival of such a man that will save Drifting Flowers Edifice from this crisis? Ha ha, what wishful thinking. My Rainbow Cloud Palm is made up of 7 savage poisons and no one can remove it. The brat was only lucky to be hit by my disciple's 3-poison palm. If it was mine instead, not even the most renowned alchemist could save his wretched life." Qin Kaiqing bit her lip. A trail of blood flowing down and tears glistened in her eyes from the resentment she carried. Snorting, Yen Song kicked her. "Bitch, get rid of him once he comes back. Or you and your sisters will wait in silence for death without me, ha ha ha. A woman will always be a woman, reliant on a man. You must be delusional for fighting against the world of man." Yen Song laughed as he left. Zhuofan surmised she must be feeling hatred, anger, and deep-seated powerlessness, though it had nothing to do with him. So he willed Blood Infant to return. Now that light has been shown on the matter, he could go all out. He'll get the Bodhi route and skip town. As for the Song and Dong clan, thanks for taking the fall. Zhuofan snickered secretly, looking at the Dong siblings without any remorse. They had elders to get them out of any situation. I owe you guys nothing after all. So be grateful for helping me out, okay? The Dong siblings reciprocated his warm smile with another of their own. Though appearances could be deceiving, where even a smile hid countless dangers. In the dead of night, silence ruled. The street was empty, but there were some who were moving around a large building, the patrol. 3 words were gracefully placed on the building: Drifting Flowers Edifice. Zhuofan flashed in the darkness, wearing black clothes from head to toe. He made use of the patrol's changing shifts and snuck inside. Through a series of odd twists and turns, he arrived at a pond. Looking back, Zhuofan sighed and took the map out with a smile. With Qin Kaiqing's help, I wouldn't have known of all these arrays. There are freaking 10 of them. I just passed one and still have 9 to go. Zhuofan sighed and stepped back into the darkness. He was adept in arrays, but it would be very easy to get trapped in them without prior investigation. But knowing the map and the disciples' routes, he had it in the bag. I guess people have this saying, attacks you can avoid day and night, but thieves are hard to counter. When I get back to the Luo clan, I will have to make proper arrangements so that this won't ever happen to me. Fan had such an easy time with the arrays, he even indulged in flights of fancy. Soon the 10 arrays were cleared. The objective was almost in sight. Treasure Pavilion Bodhi Route. Chapter 107 Drifting Flowers Whisper. Chapter 107 Drifting Flowers Whisper. Under the cover of the inky black night, Fan advanced like a cat through the sentries and arrived at the inner courtyard. But for some reason he stopped, brows furrowed. Taking the map out again, Fan flitted his gaze from the map to the layout again and again. Someone changed it. The inner courtyard had a 5th grade array, shifting defensive array. It affected every corner of the courtyard and messed with the layout. Going by the map's explanation, the Drifting Flowers edifice shifted once a month for protection. So much so that not even the disciples knew of the new layout. But Qin Kaiqing was an overseer and knew the basis behind the shift, pointing the crucial locations out on the map. Now that he was here, Fan saw there had been another shift, with those locations were no longer valid. He was now forced to search everywhere for the treasure pavilion. Curses! Things only get worse. Fan sighed as he stepped lightly, while also letting Blood Infant out to help move things along. Whoosh! Blood Infant flashed through empty rooms after empty rooms until feeling a sudden powerful force. Fan squinted. Profound Heaven Expert. And made Blood Infant vanish. In a sparse room with a bed, a table, and a chair, a yellow lamp burned faintly on the table. Fan recognized the old man meditating on the bed as being Xie Tianyang's 8th elder, Jian Suifeng. The door creaked and Xie Tianyang entered covered in sweat, gasping for breath as he slumped in the chair. Jian Suifeng opened his eyes and watched Xie Tianyang, pleased. Tianyang, you've been working hard as of late. It won't be long before you surpass your elder brother. Humph, my dad always says elder brother is a genius that comes by once a millennium. Not even a radiant stage cultivator can beat him, so how can I compare? Xie Tianyang was filled with fighting spirit. I am content as long as I can surpass that punk. Jian Suifeng smiled. You mean that freak Fan? Yes. Xie Tianyang's eyes flashed with sorrow. 8th elder. My only regret in life is that I was powerless in Blue Expanse City because I didn't train harder. I let Ninger down when she needed me most. I hope the next time will be me who will protect her, not Fan. Jian Suifeng sighed. Tianyang, you are too talented and the Abode Lord won't let you marry a second-rate clan's daughter. I know that, just. Xie Tianyang chuckled in the end. If there's one good thing that damn punk taught me, it is that might makes right. There's nothing in this world you cannot do. You all kept saying how treacherous Yu Giki was, but didn't he find his end in Fan's hands? With enough strength I will be deciding my bride, and Dad can do nothing to stop me. Laughing, Xie Tianyang left the room. Tianyang, where are you going? Training. Xie Tianyang was firm in his decision, his eyes proud. Of the flowing space's 9 forms I only know 4. I will be practicing the 5th. What, you know the 4th? Jian Suifeng watched the leaving Xie Tianyang with pride. Watching Fan's battle must have motivated him. If he keeps this up, it won't be long before he's in the profound heaven stage, ha ha ha. Blood Infant slunk back out. Fan shook his head. Didn't think Xie Tianyang took me as a rival. This is good. With his power, I can rest easy knowing he can protect Ninger. Fan moved Blood Infant to another room. But it was just another empty room. From the map, Treasure Pavilion was always shifted close to the Edifice Lord's chambers. It wasn't near this empty one. But then where can her room be? Sister Dandan, give me a kiss, just one. Young Master Yen, please don't. Ai, your fiancé Lin Tianyu is already ruined by that brat. He can't make you happy, so let me. He suddenly heard 2 voices and moved Blood Infant inside the room, hoping to eavesdrop on some clues. But Fan was shocked when Blood Infant entered. I beat the crap out of this disciple, but he is now mostly recovered. Pill King Hall's #1 alchemist sure deserves his fame. Healing his protege to such an extent in a mere 3 days. Only a 7th grade alchemist could do that. As the disciple recovered, so did his lust. He was now on the bed holding Xiao Dandan's hand without letting her go. His mind had to be in the gutter. Humph, perverted couple, none of you are worth a dime. I don't have time to waste on you. Zhuofan snorted inside. Yanfu suddenly pulled Xiao Dandan into bed and loomed over her. Fair lady, stay with me tonight. No. Young Master Yan. The ladies of Drifting Flowers Edifice give themselves to their husbands only on their wedding night. What Drifting Flowers Edifice? It will all belong to Peking Hall sooner or later anyway. Yanfu's eyes became malevolent as he eyed Xiao Dandan with suspicion. Are you still pining for that impotent fiancé of yours? No. Xiao Dandan cried. Then what are you waiting for? Let us enjoy ourselves. Yanfu started to roam his hands around as Xiao Dandan's gave off powerless protests. Young Master Yan, don't. I need to pay my respects to my master each evening. Pay respects. Wasn't her master Peony Overseer? That meant following her would lead him closer to Treasure Pavilion. Zhuofan stopped in his tracks and his heart burst with rage when he saw Yanfu about to take advantage of Xiao Dandan. God damn it. Get the fuck down, bastard. Don't ruin my plans, she still needs to visit her master. Blood Infant entered Yanfu in a flash. Yanfu just loosened his waistband but then felt a sharp pain in his stomach. With a waning face he plopped on the floor. Xiao Dandan was still shivering even after he collapsed. She put him on the bed and covered him with the quilt, then left after wiping her tears. Perhaps because of the fear she was in, she did not question why Yanfu had blanked out and left. Zhuofan snickered as he sent Blood Infant on her trail. Yanfu was no one important. He didn't want to earn vicious Pilking's rage because of the brat. So, he only allowed the Blood Infant to suck up enough of Yanfu's blood to knock him out. Following Xiao Dandan, Zhuofan soon arrived at a large building. The lamps were lit and the fragrance of women drifted for over 100 meters. Blood Infant followed Xiao Dandan, who rushed to the door where she knocked. Zhuofan was startled and sent Blood Infant inside. He found not only a woman but also a man. She was very bold and, despite her veil, her chest was covered by a thin cloth while leaving her back bare open. Her promiscuous eyes landed on the man. He was a middle-aged man, with a split mustache that stared hotly at the woman's chest. How is this a Seven Noble house? It'd be better changing its name to brothel. Why is it that everywhere I go I end up seeing these things? Zhuofan shook his head and sighed. But he was still a man and couldn't help but sneak another peek. Elder Lin, do you love me? The woman giggled. Bobbing his head, the man was drooling. I love you with all my being, Peony Overseer. I Lin Zitian love you dearly and even die for you. I only hope that Overseer would allow me a glimpse of your delicate features. He reached for her veil, but Peony Overseer dodged with a giggle. Elder Lin, you must first make me yours before taking my veil. I will most certainly make you mine. Lin Zitian was overcome with lust, as if he never saw a woman in his life. Peony Overseer rolled her eyes. Then, do you agree to my marriage condition? Lin Zitian frowned and his face fell. Peony, don't make it difficult for me. All of 7 houses know how dreadful vicious Pilking is. Asking me to face him is the same as wanting my life. Humph, Lin Zitian, where has all that love you proclaimed gone? Didn't you say you'd die for me? I am willing to die for you, but not a worthless death. All men are cheaters. Get lost. Peony Overseer's anger flared and roared, tears welling in her eyes. Lin Zitian shook his head, leaving slowly. When he got to the door he sighed. Peony, I know Drifting Flowers Edifice's situation and what you're thinking. But Drifting Flowers Edifice is hopeless. No one is willing to offend the Pilking Hall for you. If you have no safe place to turn to, look for me in Merrywoods. Lin Zitian left slowly, leaving Peony Overseer in tears. Chapter 108 Seeing Choo Choo Again. Chapter 108 Seeing Choo Choo Again. Oh, P4553R. Master. A delicate voice came from behind the Peony Overseer. She knew it was her disciple and hurried to wipe the tears away, before turning around. But Xiao Dandan's disorderly appearance had her furious. What happened? Was it Yanfu who messed with you this time? Did he do anything to you? Chewing her lip, Xiao Dandan held in her tears as she furiously shook her head. Master, he didn't do anything yet. Sighing, Peony Overseer showed tenderness as she caressed Xiao Dandan's head. Dandan, I was wrong to blame you. Master, I am fine. But you bore such shame all because you cared for Drifting Flower's edifice. Don't say it. Peony Overseer interrupted her. Dandan, remember, the men of this world only know to hide their intention behind sweet words. They say they love you, that they'd die for you, but when push comes to shove they will leave you. Never ever believe a man's sophistry. Xiao Dandan's eyes roamed around before muttering, perhaps there is an exception. Dandan, what are you saying? Peony Overseers turned strict. All men of this world are heartless, with no exceptions. Lin Ziqian is the same, his master is the same, and even that Yen Fu. Humph, they only see us as a piece of meat. They will never stick out their necks for any of us. Women can only rely on themselves. No man is worthy of our trust. But master, Xiao Dandan flushed, didn't Zhuofan appear recently? I heard he ran amok in Blue Expanse City for one girl, killing Hell Valley's 7th elder. He was willing to defy Hell Valley for her. Isn't this love? Zhuofan. Peony Overseer gasped. I've never seen him and can't come to a decision of what kind of man he is. But rumors paint him as a bloodthirsty demon. His battle with Yugiki may have had nothing to do with the girl. It could be a grudge he held against the 7th elder. But aren't these all rumors spread by Hell Valley? This is clearly done deliberately to defame him. Xiao Dandan spoke softly. Peony Overseer raised an eyebrow. Girl, why are you bringing him up? You have never saw him either. The Peony Overseer started to put things together. You've been strange of late. Fussing and complaining about Lin Tianyu while also going out to look for trouble. Was it all because you fancy Zhuofan? Zhuofan was stunned. You're saying this girl acted all spoiled and humiliated the Dong clan because of me? I don't remember having that much charm. Since when is my name enough to make a girl fall head over heels for me and ruin other clans' happiness? I guess being outstanding has its demerits. Zhuofan got his head in the clouds. Xiao Dandan was beet red, acting all bashful. Master, don't tease me. I was only hoping of finding such a man myself, one that was willing to stand up to the 7 houses for his girl. And that is why you found Lin Tianyu increasingly displeasing, right? Peony Overseer saw Xiao Dandan nod and sighed. Silly child, even if such a man does exist, it doesn't mean you'll be fortunate enough to meet him. We, the women of Drifting Flower's edifice, only marry people, form large clans to preserve our standing. You must accept this fate. Xiao Dandan resigned and nodded sadly. Sighing, Peony Overseer patted her shoulder. Dandan, I am tired. Please patrol around Treasure Pavilion in my stead. Yes, master. Xiao Dandan left with a bow. Zhuofan's eyes flashed in glee. He got what he wanted without even asking. It's like giving water to the thirsty. How convenient. He called Blood Infant back and slowly followed Xiao Dandan, to the blind eyes of the master and disciple. After 15 minutes of twists and turns, he saw before him a 50 meters tall pagoda. If one paid attention, he would sense a strange energy around it. An array. Zhuofan narrowed his eyes and withdrew. This array was controlled by those who lived here. If he forced his way in, he'd attract the experts around. But why isn't this array on the map? Is it to mislead me, or did the Iris Overseer not know? Zhuofan was trying to figure out the reason but hadn't much to go on. He threw the thought away in the end. He only planned to take the Bodhi route then bolt. Why would he give it to her anyway? So Zhuofan paid close attention to Xiao Dandan's gestures as she shouted, "Open!" The energy around the tower retreated. Xiao Dandan entered, followed closely by Zhuofan. The tower had 6 levels, illuminated by night pearls. Xiao Dandan checked the treasures on each level: cultivation methods, spiritual weapons and demonic treasures. On the 6th level, a wooden box laid on a pedestal in the middle of the room. Xiao Dandan opened it with care, revealing a dark green root emanating a fragrance, dazzling in the moonlight. Bam! Xiao Dandan closed it and smiled. All is in order. Then a black figure flashed and struck her neck, knocking her out. Seeing you're a fan of yours truly, I'll let you off. A black cloth fell, revealing Zhuofan's twisted smile. He opened the box and took the root. But the moment he touched it, he cried out, "Damn it! It's a fake!" Zhuofan was panicking. It looked so similar to the real thing that he didn't realize the difference until he touched it. The Bodhi root had vital essence, and even as a root it was still alive. But this thing had the same looks and vibe as the real thing, except it had no vitality in it. This was clearly a countermeasure against robbers. Squinting, Zhuofan was beginning to doubt if Qin Kaiqing was in on this. But what was the point of making him steal a fake? Is it to fool vicious Pill King? He put the root in the box and stashed it in his ring. Since it was fake, he might as well give it to Iris Overseer and see her reaction. Who dares encroach upon Drifting Flowers Edifice's treasure pavilion? A woman's voice came from behind him. He could feel her power and knew it to be a profound heaven expert. He made the logical decision to jump through the window and make a run for it. But was a profound heaven expert going to let him leave that easily? A thin cloth blocked his path. The woman's elegance and beauty were emphasized in the moonlight, akin to a fairy. Zhuofan couldn't see past her veil, but was stunned nonetheless. Curses! Drifting Flowers Edifice is filled with beauties. Too bad yours only came after items, not to steal girls. Zhuofan charged. The woman was perplexed, seeing a second layer of bone-tempering cultivator coming right at her. This was no different than a death wish. The woman snorted inside and struck with a cold palm. Zhuofan let out an odd smile just as it was about to hit him, vanishing with the mystifying phantom step. The next moment he was behind the woman, fleeing. She hadn't expected such skill from him, and that caught her off guard. Her delayed reaction allowed him to flee with a dozen meters advantage. But she was a profound heaven expert and she managed to catch up. Her fair hand caught his shoulder as she turned. With a squeeze, Zhuofan halted on the spot. He got you. Zhuofan grinned. Instead of throwing her off, he grabbed her hand, not letting it go. At the same time, lightning cracked as his wings unfolded. The lightning wings were a 6th-grade demonic treasure, and would send even this profound heaven expert to her doom. Zhuofan was using a dirty and savage trick, but this was what he excelled at. Feeling the danger, the woman released all her power. The cold yuan qi flung Zhuofan's hand away. He withdrew his wings and cried, "Sister Chu-Chu." The woman was shocked beyond belief. "Don't tell me you're..." Zhuofan didn't hope to have been found out so soon, but he chose to make use of the shock to disappear into the night. Chu-Chu was left standing there, still baffled. Chapter 109 Iris Overseer's Stubbornness. Chapter 109 Iris Overseer's Stubbornness. Oh, P4553R. Under the cover of night, Zhuofan moved like a cheetah through a groove 50 miles out of Drifting Flowers City. He stopped in a clearing and inspected the ice on his hand. He took a deep breath to calm down. He had not expected to meet Chu-Chu so soon, and in the Drifting Flowers edifice no less. Much less that he would be injured by this familiarine energy. Yet, this encounter brought him some ease. Zhuofan cast a look back while sporting a strange smile. This was where his meeting with Iris Overseer would take place. It was also the escape route marked on the map. He would give her the Bodhi route here. What Iris Overseer didn't know was that he wasn't coming alone, bringing his tail along. A white immaculate figure floated on a branch not far behind Zhuofan under the cover of the darkness. A light breeze rustled the leaves and Zhuofan strained his ears. He knew Chu-Chu was here. When was there a profound heaven expert that couldn't give chase to someone of his cultivation level? Well, of course, him not using the lightning wings may have had something to do with it. His plan was to find out Iris Overseer's true purpose and Chu-Chu's true identity. Who knew if he might even find clues to the real Bodhi route? It all came to him in a flash of inspiration the moment he recognized Chu-Chu. All that's left was for the two profound heaven experts to meet and reveal their secrets. Smiling, Zhuofan sighed as he looked around. This is where we're supposed to meet, but it looks like I'm late. Since she doesn't want it, I'll just take it with me. Delicate laughter resounded, followed by a bluish figure trailing among the trees. Her soft eyes stared down at Zhuofan in anger. Young Master Song, I never took you for an impatient man, that you can't even wait for 2 minutes. If you took that treasure away, the only thing that will happen is the destruction of the Song clan. I know that, but you should also know this item is a headache for us third-rate clans. The longer we have it, the more dangerous it will be. Ha ha ha, young Master Song is a wise man. Then please hand it over. Qin Kaiqing smiled as she stepped forward. Zhuo Fan took the box out and held it in his hand, his eyes staring into her eyes, ready to grasp her every reaction. Overseer, you need to handle this carefully, lest it will come back to bite me. If it does, you'll have me to deal with. Hi. I didn't know that young Master Song is so bold and so careful. Qin Kaiqing giggled, but then her eyes flashed when she opened the box. Zhuo Fan also noticed. Yes, this is Drifting Flower's edifice lord's treasure. Bodhi root. Iris Overseer nodded pleasantly. Young Master Song, you've done well. Zhuo Fan lifted an eyebrow as he gave her a deep look. He was clear Qin Kaiqing knew this thing was a fake, but pretended otherwise. Her aim was obvious, for him to steal the fake and not the real Bodhi root. All to deceive Vicious Pill King. Just as he thought, an aged voice cackled when Iris Overseer spoke. Vicious Pill King floated next to her. Who are you? Zhuo Fan faked surprise and retreated a step. Snorting, Yen Song watched Zhuo Fan in contempt. Foul punk, you fought my disciple. Did you forget already? But that is only normal since you were unconscious. You hurt me. Zhuo Fan put on a pondering look, then shouted, Oh, I know, when I was trashing that bastard Yen Fu so hard, a damn old coot jumped me. You're that son of a bitch? Yen Song's eyes flashed and his beard trembled from rage. In the entire Tianyu Empire, who the hell would dare curse him? But that was nothing compared to saying he jumped a kid. He was the #1 alchemist in Pill King Hall, the Vicious Pill King. Once word got out, he sneak attacked a bone tempering junior. His face would be thrown in the mud. He rushed to amend this. Punk, that was just to teach you a lesson. Humph, shameless geezer, admit you jumped me. You're so old and yet you and your disciple colluded against me from the start. Humph, so this is how Pill King Hall acts. Strength does come in numbers. Zhuo Fan mocked, as if grieved from the injustice of it all. Qin Kaiqing laughed, while Yen Song was turning purple. This punk is too ridiculous. When did my disciple and I collude against him? If this got out, he'd be the laughingstock of the empire. The 7 houses' disciples picking on other clans was a common occurrence. But if an elder joined too, and against a third-rate clan no less, it would be utter humiliation. Worse, there had yet to be anyone in the 7 houses who did this. Old Yen, ease your anger. This is his character, he is quick to anger those around him. Don't get angry, Qin Kaiqing advised Yen Song, but in the end she had to hide her smile. Glaring at her, Yen Song's towering rage only grew. Humph, damnable punk, you're dead anyway. Talk all you want. Yen Song gnashed his teeth, his rage-filled eyes wiped the smile off Qin Kaiqing's face. Don't laugh and take it out. Qin Kaiqing presented the box and Vicious Pill King opened it. His 2 eyes narrowed. Bam! Yen Song threw the box on the ground, crushing the Bodhi root inside to pieces. Qin Kaiqing cried in shock, Elder Yen, why? It's a fake. That is no Bodhi root. Yen Song stared coldly at her. Qin Kaiqing jerked, her face baffled. Fake how? This Bodhi root has always been safeguarded in the treasure pavilion. She is about to come out of seclusion and so it doesn't make sense. Unless... Qin Kaiqing cast her suspicious eyes on Zhuo Fan, treading closer with killing intent. Young Master Song, I thought you knew when to retreat even if you are not the type of man that does so. I never took you for someone who would switch items. You doubt me? Zhuo Fan put on a fearful face as he fled, ready to spread his wings. He now had what he wanted and uncovered her ploy. She, a woman of power, didn't do it herself and used him, a stubborn bone-tempering cultivator, so she could shift the blame on him. Regardless if Yen Song was duped by the fake Bodhi root or not, she would still shift the blame on him. Yen Song would then blame her for her poor choice in men, and would not tell her to go for the Bodhi root again. The Bodhi root would be saved and she was free from Yen Song's coercion, and all at the low cost of a third-rate clan's kid. Wasn't this a win-win situation? Zhuo Fan snorted inside as his fist tightened. Such a pity the one before her wasn't a mere bone-tempering cultivator, but one who killed Yugiki, the freak Zhuo Fan. It wouldn't be long now. Chu-Chu would jump in and he would then get to kill this pair. What was the Drifting Flowers edifice's first overseer? What was the Vicious Pill King? They were but a woman and a spineless coot who dabbed in poison. Killing them isn't going to be easy, but it will not be hard either. Zhuofan's eyes flashed with bloodthirst as he licked his lips in anticipation, as if he was a demon king prepared to engage in slaughter. But then something happened. Qin Kaiqing, who was closing in, stopped in her tracks and launched a blue palm to Yen Song's chest. Bam! Among the loud explosion, there were even sounds of bones cracking. Yen Song was flung like a ragdoll into the air as he spat blood. Why you dare betray me? Yen Song crawled to his feet and pointed at her with rage and rancor. Zhuofan watched her in a daze, his fists relaxing. What? Didn't Iris Overseer want me to take the fall? Zhuofan was baffled, finding his assessment wrong for the first time. He sighed. A woman's heart is like an ocean, unfathomably deep. His guess was the most beneficial to her. But her betrayal would not only make both sides suffer, but it may lead to them dying together. Humph, Qin Kaiqing, don't forget, your life is in my hands. Do you want to die? Vicious Pill King wiped the blood from his mouth as ice crystals formed on his chest. Qin Kaiqing lifted her head, her mind set. Yen Song, get this straight. I am Drifting Flowers Edifices' first overseer. Iris Overseer Qin Kaiqing. I won't have you ruin Drifting Flowers Edifice even if I have to pay for it with my life. Zhuofan was stunned. Iris Overseer was usually calm and collected. The beautiful Overseer also did not use coarse language even against an opponent she hated. For some reason, he began to feel deep respect for her. Chapter 110 Drifting Flowers Edifice Lord Chu Qingcheng. Chapter 110 Drifting Flowers Edifice Lord Chu Qingcheng. Vicious Pill King watched the proud Iris Overseer with a critical eye, savagery dripping from his voice. Humph, a wench thinks she can kill me. You will see soon enough. Your heart has directly received my cold jade palm, and your meridians must be freezing right about now. You have no way of using rainbow cloud palm. Qin Kaiqing's eyes flashed elated and prideful. Yen Song, you've long got this coming. I may die from your poison, but it will be without regrets. Qin Kaiqing charged towards Yen Song, her palm glowing blue as she aimed for his chest. Yen Song took a deep breath and staggered as he had to spit out more blood. Just as Qin Kaiqing said, his yuan chi's flow was hindered. And yet, he found no reason to fear. His green beard trembled as he made an evil grin on his face. Qin Kaiqing did not even manage to reach him before she started to tremble and vomit out black blood. The black blood was so potent that it ate through the ground when it landed. Iris Overseer swayed then fell. Qin Kaiqing couldn't understand what was going on. Wench, don't you know who I am? You think you can attack me that easily? Yen Song snorted, look at your hand. Qin Kaiqing brought her trembling hand to her eyes and discovered it had turned from white to purple. Haha, I am Vicious Pill King. Every inch of me's covered in devastating poison. You think the rainbow cloud palm is the only one thing I use to go against another profound heaven expert like you? Yen Song laughed at the sky, his sharp eyes filled with murderous intent. Humph, no one would fear me if that was the case. Dumb broad, what a fool. I will kill you and get rid of future troubles. Despite being wounded, his palm had enough power to end a profound heaven expert's life. Qin Kaiqing was in despair, chewing her lip in hatred and remorse. Zhuofan watched it all with a critical gaze. He didn't join in because he knew there was only one person who could save the Iris Overseer. And sure enough, a white figure flew before the Vicious Pill King and struck. Frowning, the Vicious Pill King redirected his attack towards the white hand of the newcomer. Bam! With a loud explosion jarring to the ears, Vicious Pill King stumbled 10 feet back and spat blood. His hand was encased in ice. The white figure landed next to Iris Overseer. Her manner was filled with power and demanding respect from any who dared look at her. Sister Chu Chu, why are you here? Zhuofan still had to fake he knew she was hiding nearby. Were you always behind me? Humph, you stole from Drifting Flowers Edifice and think I could not catch up? Chu Chu glared at Zhuofan. Zhuofan was startled as he gave a pretending cry. What? Sister Chu Chu, you're from Drifting Flowers Edifice? Which overseer are you then? Zhuofan looked anywhere else but at her, like a child who knew he did something wrong. He tried to prove his innocence as he pointed at Qin Kaiqing. Sister Chu, it's not my fault I was forced. It's her, she is your traitor. She is the one to blame, not me. Shaking her head, Chu held her forehead in anger. You brat, you dare say this when you don't have the courage to take responsibility? You deserve to be punished. She then leaned over Qin Kaiqing to check her wounds. It's ruined. Qin Kaiqing lifted her heavy head with difficulty as tears streamed down. Forgive me, I betrayed Drifting Flower's edifice. Bam! Vicious Pill King cracked the ice on his hand and glared at Chu. Profound ranked martial art, arcane moon art. Ha ha ha. Drifting Flower's edifice lord. Chu Qingqing. You finally show yourself. How is your wound, I wonder? Would you like me to ease your pain? What? Sister Chu, your Drifting Flower's edifice lord, Chu Qingqing? Zhuo Fan watched her beautiful figure in stunned silence. He wasn't faking it this time. The scourge woman he met in the slums was actually Drifting Flower's edifice lord? What was she doing there? Since he couldn't make heads or tails of it, he pushed this question aside. What upset Zhuo Fan even more was that Chu Qingqing was called the #1 beauty in the empire. And he did witness her visage once. Who could have those impeccable features if not Chu Qingqing? He never questioned her identity, making him doubt if his brain had a screw loose to be this foolish. But when did I become so foolish? It was when I saw Chu's face. Zhuo Fan sighed. Even now he felt relaxed when he recalled that image. To think a woman could actually possess such charm. The him of before would never have imagined it possible. Ignoring both of their gazes, Chu Qingqing watched Qin Kaiqing's wound and a bottle appeared in her hand. She opened it and the sweet smell had the two people's eyes flash with greed. Bodhi Jade sap. Senior sister, I know how much you care for Drifting Flower's edifice. Forgive me, I failed as a lord and made you suffer. Chu Qingqing moved the blue veil a bit and let a drop fall on Qin Kaiqing's mouth. Qin Kaiqing's body began shining in a green hue, filled with endless vitality. Even the grass beneath her began to grow unchecked. The poison on her hand had also retreated and wasn't long before it recovered its white color. The greedy Yen Song and Zhuo Fan gulped, their eyes fixed on the bottle. It was the second time he saw Bodhi Jade sap's effect, and its endless vitality left him in awe all the same. Ah, no. Another drop ruined. Zhuo Fan lamented, considering whether or not to steal the bottle. This thought was on Yen Song's mind too. Bodhi Jade sap is a legendary cure. How mystical. Vicious Pill King licked his lips. Lord Chu, how about we make a deal? That hag is about to die and Drifting Flower's edifice will collapse without you. Give me the Bodhi root and I will give you Rainbow Cloud Palm's antidote. It will ensure the survival of your Drifting Flower's edifice. Humph, Bodhi root is the basis of Drifting Flower's edifice. Without it, Pill King Hall would run amok and Drifting Flower's edifice would lose its place among the 7 houses. Do you take me for a 3-year-old, Yen Song? Chu Qingqing's eyes with bone-deep hatred, and grandmother's vengeance. Ha ha ha, those old hags were narrow-minded. Serve them right. Lord Chu, I advise against making the same mistake. Vicious Pill King laughed in mockery. Chu Qingqing tightened her fists. Iris Overseer gasped a few times and got up weakly. Her pale face glaring at Yen Song. Qingqing, I wounded him and now he can't use profound ranked martial art. Together we can end this geezer. But senior sister, what of the poisoned overseers? Pain laced her gaze but soon her focus recovered. Iris Overseer said, everything is for Drifting Flower's edifice's future. Even the death of all overseers. Qingqing attack. Chu Qingqing was still reticent as Qin Kaiqing shouted, Qingqing, we will never get the chance to kill this old dog again. We won't get revenge for grandmother. Chu Qingqing woke up and her eyes became increasingly colder. Song Yu, stand aside. Chu Qingqing's bitter voice came out. Zhuo Fan meekly got out of their way. He was now watching the bustle and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. None of them were on guard against the second-layer bone-tempering cultivator. Fight. Die all of you and let yours truly reap the rewards. Zhuo Fan had a twisted grin. Squinting, Vicious Pill King watched the two's determination and his hand rested on the gourd at his waist. Lord Chu, think it through. Don't regret it later. Humph, I will regret it for all my life if I don't kill you now. Chu Qingcheng snorted as she and Iris Overseer charged towards Yen Song. In this 2-against-1, Yen Song, who couldn't use profound ranked martial art, was at a disadvantage. But he wasn't panicking. His knuckles were white as he gripped against his gourd. Boom! A sudden purple lightning struck, stopping the two women. Vicious Pill King frowned as he turned his head towards the newcomer. Chapter 111, God Eye reemerges. Chapter 111, God Eye reemerges. Who's there? Chu Qingcheng and Qin Kaiqing shouted. Ha ha ha, girls. Did you already forget this old man after a few years? It was an old man in yellow, blind in one eye. A crow laid on his shoulder, yet had eyes flickered with purple lightning. He was Veiled Dragon Pavilion's God Eye Long Jiao, and his spirit animal soul-devouring crow. The pair behind him were in bone-tempering stage, Long Kuei and Long Jia. Zhuofan was startled. He didn't think he'd meet familiar faces all the way over here. Uncle Jiao. Chu Qingcheng and Qin Kaiqing cried in joy. Vicious Pill King was frowning, despite his cold tone. Didn't expect you to get your eye back, God Eye Long Ji. Long Jiao laughed, ha ha ha. It's all thanks to my little brother. I have regained my title and won't cower from the likes of you, Vicious Pill King. Vicious Pill King's face twitched, but his heart cursed to high heavens. God Eye Long Jiao's recovery of his purple lightning gold eye was akin to meeting his archenemy. The rainbow cloud palm had always been ineffective against Long Jiao. After losing his eye, Long Jiao was downcast, so Yen Song didn't pay him any attention. But now he was back. Vicious Pill King squinted. His heart was in panic as his hand held the gourd tighter. Long Jiao, are you going to join the ladies against me? The ladies in question turned their expecting gazes at Long Jiao. Long Jiao cast a furtive glance on Vicious Pill King's gourd, then shook his head. Yen Song, don't misunderstand. I came here to mediate. We are all guests in Drifting Flowers edifice and should act like one. Ha ha ha, I admire your reasoning, Elder Jiao. I will forego the ladies' unreasonable act today. But they might not do the same. Vicious Pill King rested easy knowing Long Jiao was out of this fight. His smile now turned to the ladies. Chu Qingcheng gnashed her teeth and looked at Long Jiao with hope, but the latter only shook his head. She could only give up. Humph, Yen Song. I'll let you off now, but don't you dare make trouble in Drifting Flower City. That depends on how Lord Chu receives guests. Vicious Pill King snickered and flew away. They all breathed easier seeing him leave. Even the ladies. They may have been shouting kill and attack, but against an opponent like Yen Song, they were extremely tense. Uncle Jiao, why did you stop us? Did you forget grandmother's revenge? Qin Kaiqing complained, but Chu Qingcheng grabbed her shoulder. Senior sister, you misunderstood Uncle Jiao. He saved us. Long Jiao sighed, his voice dignified. Girls, I am the one who knows Vicious Pill King Yen Song the best. He is worse than you, geeky. Fighting him would only end in you dying for nothing. But didn't I hurt him? Qin Kaiqing retorted. Long Jiao spoke gravely. Qinger, did you notice his gourd? Qin Kaiqing shook her head. We have met countless times but never saw him carry one until now. He must be carrying it for some ulterior motive. Vicious Pill King is rampant and arrogant, but his heart is so spiteful that not even you geeky dared mess with him. You were at grave risk today. But Uncle Jiao, is there no way we can deal with that old dog? Qin Kaiqing wasn't willing to give up. Long Jiao smoothened his beard. Hard to say unless my little brother was here. He is sure to have a way. Your little brother? Chu Qingcheng and Qin Kaiqing asked. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. He can't mean me, right? Long Kuei's mood was foul at Long Jiao's words. Uncle Jiao, why bring that brat again? He only killed you, geeky, and yet you brag about him on and on for the past few months. Many from Veiled Dragon Pavilion are starting to think you aren't just brothers. Little Kuei, are you jealous? Who in your generation could have accomplished the feat of killing that rotten bastard? Even taking him as my ancestor wouldn't be an exaggeration. What's more, we became brothers. Uncle Jiao, are you talking about that rumored vile spawn Zhuofan? Chu Qingcheng raised an eyebrow. Long Jiao nodded. Chu, you are an exceptional genius, rarest of rare. But my little brother is no weaker than you. Humph, what genius, he only knows violence. Killing wherever he goes. Long Kuei spoke in a sour tone. Long Jie shook his head. Little Kuei, you are wrong. Whether you want to or not, you have to admit that Zhuofan is better than us in every way. He may be a bit unhinged, true, but his talent matches the 7 houses 6 dragons, and when it comes to killing, no one of our generations can compare. Little Jie got it right. Long Zhou praised. But Long Kuei came before Chu Qingcheng, not at all pleased. Humph, what are you talking about? There's no way that brat can compare with Sister Qingcheng. Yep, not right at all. Yours truly has always been keeping low. I've been in Drifting Flower City for days, and have I run amok even once? No. Zhuofan was dissatisfied. Aren't I always low-key? I normally kill without stating my name? Yet it perplexed him how, even with that, his name was known in the entire Chanyu Empire as a demon spawn. The only one that I am known to have killed was Yugiki, which happened as though it was on a grand display, so of course everyone knew about me from that incident. But the rest should not be tied to my name. He thought of himself as a rational and calm person, but to others, his every move, every gesture was filled with arrogance. Chu Qingcheng held Long Kuei's hand, then looked at Long Jiu in hope. Uncle Jiu, Zhuofan truly has the power to kill Vicious Pill King. Long Jiu shook his head. I am not sure, but from what I can guess, Vicious Pill King's ending would only come at the hands of my little brother Zhuofan. I'm starting to get curious about this matchless genius. Chu Qingcheng's eyes roamed around in thought. Next, Chu Qingcheng settled Long Zhou's party in the Drifting Flowers edifice. Zhuofan wanted to use the chance to bail, but before he could do anything, Chu Qingcheng grabbed him by the neck and dragged him back to Drifting Flowers edifice like a chicken. The moon hung above in the quiet night. Many guests were resting, except for a lamp still burning in a small room. 5 people were gathered: Chu Qingcheng, Peony Overseer, Iris Overseer, Xiao Dandan, and Zhuofan. In other words, Zhuofan was the only outsider here. I'm finished, kaput. Zhuofan lamented. 1 wrong move and 3 profound heaven experts would jump him. Peony Overseer was watching Zhuofan with suspicion. Why has the edifice lord brought a nobody to Drifting Flowers edifice? While Xiao Dandan's eyes rested on Zhuofan for a long time. Zhuofan humiliated her once, but for some odd reason, she didn't hold it against him. What are you looking at? Never seen a man before? Zhuofan was annoyed and snapped. Xiao Dandan shivered and stepped back. Impudent. Peony Overseer's fiery temper broke out as she cursed him. You rude brat, where do you come from that allows you to speak like that in my Drifting Flowers edifice? Don't you know where you are? Who cares, just don't let that crafty and arrogant lass have such a hot gaze for this handsome man. What hot gaze? Peony Overseer was startled. Pointing at Xiao Dandan, Zhuofan stuck out his chin and cursed. Look at her eyes, they are clearly undressing me. Can't you see me wearing clothes? If that's not a hot gaze, I don't know what is. The 3 ladies spat, finally knowing what hot gaze meant. Their faces turned red. Xiao Dandan was even more so, lowering her head in shame. This brat is too vulgar. What hot gaze? I only looked at you twice. But as Xiao Dandan was getting redder by the second, and was close to burning up, Chu Qingcheng glared. Songyu, stop being rude. Yes, Sister Chu Chu. Zhuofan changed into an obedient child next to Chu Qingcheng. He knew her weakness, that she couldn't stand to reprimand him like this. At last I found you, Songyu. You were the one who picked on my disciple. But Peony Overseer's temper flared once again at the name. Zhuofan was fearless now that Chu Qingcheng was there to hold his hand as he shouted, so what if did? Who told her to pick on my woman? Can't you see how rotten her morals are? Peony Overseer shivered. Of course she knew the truth, but she didn't think this brat was so pig-headed that he dared argue with her in the Drifting Flowers edifice. She knew she was wrong. She was willing to let the matter slide, with just a small payback. However, she was humiliated instead. Damn rotten punk, see if I don't beat you to death. Peony Overseer was ready to strike, but the one to stop her wasn't Chu Qingcheng. She watched the hand, stunned. It belonged to none other than Xiao Dandan. She was pleading with her eyes to let the rotten punk go. Peony Overseer was perplexed. My dear disciple, didn't he humiliate you twice? Why are you defending him? Chapter 112 The Strongest House, Regent Estate. Chapter 112 The Strongest House, Regent Estate. Don't tell me. Peony Overseer suddenly cried. You fancy him? This got all of them jumping, with even Zhuofan's eyelid twitching as he said in haste, Hey, think what you like but be careful of what you spout. You're Peony Overseer for crying out loud. You can't just go around spreading rumors and damaging my name. Do you even have a reputation? Why do you sound like you're the one losing out if my disciple likes you? Peony Overseer was furious. How could Xiao Dandan like a reckless and impudent brat like him? But now his words set her temper off. What's wrong about my disciple that you find unacceptable to you? In a fit of anger, Peony Overseer's rage shifted from her blind disciple to enforcing marriage on Zhuofan. By the looks of it, it may even come to fighting if Zhuofan kept refusing. Xiao Dandan was red as a tomato, but was also let down by Zhuofan's reaction. She cried, Master, that's not what I mean. Stop rambling. Then what do you mean? Peony Overseer looked with askance at her and resentful of her attitude. Looking up at Zhuofan, Xiao Dandan muttered, I only thought he is a rarity in this world, sticking out for that lady and standing against Drifting Flower's edifice. The world actually has another man willing to sacrifice himself for a woman. Him? A good man? Peony Overseer mocked. It is fine to be hot-blooded and reckless if he had Zhuofan's strength, but he is weak and still has the nerve to offend the 7 houses. He is just suicidal. If he had offended any other house besides Drifting Flower's edifice, he'd be lying cold on the ground by now. He was fortunate to meet Edifice Lord who saved him, or Yen Fu would have killed him. Yes, last time it was Qingqing who saved young Master Song. Iris Overseer raised an eyebrow. Chu Qingqing nodded. That was pure coincidence. Once I got back, I would mention it to Peony Overseer and to rein in her disciple, not to stir up trouble. Drifting Flower City is the only place where women have the last say in things. I don't want for women to fight against each other here. Yes, I will be sure to rein her in. Peony Overseer rushed to make a bow to Chu Qingqing and pulled Xiao Dandan to do the same. Chu Qingqing dismissed it. It's all in the past. We have gathered here tonight for one purpose, the theft of the treasure pavilion. Chu Qingqing turned to Iris Overseer and Zhuofan. You two? Explain what happened. Zhuofan was indifferent in his retelling, yet he didn't miss a detail. I am the victim here. Go punish her. Peony Overseer and Xiao Dandan cried in shock. Who'd have conceived it possible Iris Overseer was a traitor? Chu Qingqing saw anger in their eyes and urged, Don't be anxious, Iris Overseer hasn't truly defected from Drifting Flower's edifice. She knew I carried the Bodhi root with me at all times yet still sent Song Yu to steal it. The two calmed down somewhat, but Peony Overseer still said, Senior sister, why have you been staying silent? I'm dying to know your side of the story. Rolling her eyes, Iris Overseer sighed, to be honest, Yen Song struck me with the rainbow cloud palm when I was returning to Drifting Flower City 3 months back. What, you're also poisoned? Peony Overseer was worried. That means close to half of our overseers are poison. Humph, half. Shaking her head, Iris Overseer had a hardened expression. Of the 15 overseers, that old dog got to 14, forcing them to obey his orders. The only one safe is you, Peony Overseer. What? The shock was understandable. It wasn't long before Vicious Pill King got his hands on the entire Drifting Flowers edifice. So that's why Yen Fu kept saying Drifting Flowers edifice is his. Xiao Dandan recoiled 2 steps and Peony Overseer found it hard to even swallow. Her despair was obvious. Iris Overseer also sighed out of frustration. He told me of this secret only to have better control over me. I decided then that I'd rather have him killed than seizing Drifting Flower's edifice. That is why I have been hiding my intention so I can strike him when he told me to steal the Bodhi root. You didn't make me steal a fake to fool him, but to shift his anger on me and attack him from behind when his guard was down? Iris Overseer, what a great plan. Zhuofan analyzed. Iris Overseer looked at him in shock. Young Master Song, I never knew you were so smart. Not at all like the stubborn oaf you appear to be. Just a wild guess, haha. Zhuofan scratched his head and faked clueless once again. What a blunder. The Song Yu he played was an impulsive and reckless man, Not one capable of deep though. Putting together a sly mind and a strong body, what would you get? Zhuo Fan. Luck was with him this time, as they thought it was odd. However, they were not suspicious of his identity. An oaf of a brat who hit the nail on the head sometimes. Senior sister, sorry for being hard on you. Peony Overseer took Iris Overseer's hand as tears welled in her eyes. Qing Kai-Ching patted her hand and chuckled. These two women had sacrificed much for Drifting Flower's edifice, and took all the responsibility on their shoulders. Senior aunt, did you succeed in your attack on that old dog? Xiao Dandan asked. Zhuo Fan sneered at this. Oh please, and here I thought I was one who disliked using his brains, but in fact yours seems non-existent. If she succeeded, you'd be toasting right now. Why would you all be wailing and sobbing here at this point? Xiao Dandan blushed and glared at him. Zhuo Fan's callous words broke the sisterly mood between Peony Overseer and Iris Overseer. Their tears just went and disappeared. Rotten punk, can't you read the mood? I should have known better than to expect delicacy from you. Peony Overseer flared again as she ranted. The others broke in a small smile while Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes. Peony Overseer, don't mind him. Song Yu speaks before he thinks. Chu Qingcheng glared at him, then acted like a big sister, trying to make amends for her little brother. Peony Overseer noticed this subtle difference quickly. With Edifice Lord protecting him, she no longer pursued it, and her face changed into worry. Edifice Lord, with how can senior sister put it? Drifting Flower's edifice is in imminent danger. What do we do now? Chu Qingcheng took a deep breath, her eyes flickering. We aren't nearly enough to deal with Pilking Hall. We need to find outside help. From the other houses? Iris Overseer shook her head. From the start, the 7 houses only cared about themselves. Even Uncle Jiu, who is closest to us, was fearful of vicious Pilking. Who would stick their necks out for us? Yes, no man can be trusted. Peony Overseer had only hatred from being abandoned in her chambers. Her eyes flickering with wisdom, Chu Qingcheng showed a smile. Others may not be trustworthy, but he will surely help us. Who? Was the unanimous question. Chu Qingcheng grinned. The strongest house. Their eyes shined as hope was rekindled. Though Zhuo Fan frowned and muttered. The Regent Estate. Among the 7 noble houses, everyone was arrogant, everyone thought highly of themselves. But there was one house that was recognized as the strongest, the one who stood above them for the past 1,000 years, the Regent Estate. The Regent Estate's power was 3 levels higher than any house among them. No house alone could defeat it. Who'd have thought that the Regent Estate's men were also joining in the 100-pill meeting? Though their numbers and strength were unknown. If the rumors were true about its power, he'd had better tread lightly. With such a strong crowd in Drifting Flower City, one wrong move would spell damnation. Sighing, Zhuo Fan clenched his fists. He needed to get the Bodhi Jade sap fast and leave even faster. From here on out it was only going to get worse. Zhuo Fan's eyes drifted to Chu Qingcheng's storage ring. She also noticed Zhuo Fan was worried and smiled. Song Yu, stay in Drifting Flower's edifice. What? Zhuo Fan jerked, though his heart was leaping in joy. This would make it more convenient for him. Chu Qingcheng walked before him and patted his shoulder with tender feelings. No need to worry. I know you fear vicious Pilking's revenge. But he won't dare kill anyone in Drifting Flower's edifice. She then left with the overseers after telling Xiao Dandan to prepare him a room. Zhuo Fan stood stunned, feeling somewhat warm and fuzzy inside. He had always been cooking up schemes on how to get that Bodhi Jade sap, maybe even killing someone if he had to. But Chu Qingcheng's constant care for him left him hesitant. Should I steal the Bodhi Jade sap? Chapter 113 Royally Arrogant, Huangpu Qingyun. Chapter 113 Royally Arrogant, Huangpu Qingyun. The night passed and Zhuo Fan walked out of his room. He was welcomed by the warm sun, yet his eyes were cold as ever. After a thorough analysis, he came to the decision to strike. Tonight was his best chance to steal her Bodhi Jade sap, when Chu Qingcheng was alone. The best case was if it all went smoothly. If not, it couldn't be helped. He wouldn't shirk from killing if it'd get him the medicine. He was the demonic emperor and not even a woman could stand in his way. Zhuo Fan took steps towards Chu Qingcheng's room. From his gait, one could even see a certain growing resolve. But the closer he got, the stranger he felt. Why were there so few people in Drifting Flowers' edifice? Not even the guests were around. Make way, make way! A rash and urgent yell came from a figure in red moving with great haste. It was none other than Xiao Dandan. Thinking for a moment, he flashed before her. Thump! Xiao Dandan seemed to have smacked into an iron wall and fell to the ground, bringing sharp pain to her butt and head. Who is so blind that dares block me? Xiao Dandan cursed, but she choked on her words when she saw Zhuo Fan. Eyeing her coldly, Zhuo Fan snorted. Did you say something about a blind man? Lowering her head and blushing a bit, Xiao Dandan went by him. Zhuo Fan was even more perplexed. She used to be so feisty? So why did she suddenly change? He grabbed her arm. Xiao Dandan shuddered and her cheeks reddened even more. Zhuo Fan ignored her state and said, Where are you going? Why is Drifting Flowers' edifice so quiet? Where is everyone? That's because they went to see young Master Huangpu. Zhuo Fan frowned then cried, Huangpu, a man from the Regent Estate? Why is he here so soon? The one who came is Regent Estate's second young master, Huangpu Qingyun. I heard he and Edifice Lord were childhood sweethearts. With him here, Vicious Pill King will not dare to cause trouble. Zhuo Fan's heart shook. Son of a bitch. I just decided to attack and here comes an expert. And did he have to be Chu Qingqing's childhood sweetheart too? How the hell am I supposed to do anything with those two sticking like glue? Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth and looked on murderously. Let's go. I want to see the oh-so-great young Master Huangpu. Great? How can you be so rude to Regent Estate's young master? Xiao Dandan was going to advise him to be restrained, but Zhuo Fan pulled her along before she could say anything. Xiao Dandan looked at their hands but did not say a word, though it could be because her heart was skipping like a deer. Zhuo Fan's unbridled and rash attitude made her heart jump for the first time for a man. She was wishing for time to stop right now. However, with the two's cultivation, they soon arrived at the entrance of Drifting Flowers' edifice. They looked on towards the crowd. Zhuo Fan let go of his hand, which made the young miss feel a sense of loss. Blast it! This damn Regent Estate is too impressive. They are like emperors. To have the other houses welcome them like this. The scene shocked him. From first to third-rate clans, all kneeled at the side of the main avenue, and those of powerful clans stood around the Drifting Flowers edifice's entrance in welcome. This was Drifting Flowers edifice's headquarters, yet the procession was even grander than the edifice lords. Was Regent Estate so strong that it could intimidate the other six? It had to. With how arrogant and belittling the seven houses were, they would never accept such a loss of face. His face turned grave. Zhuo Fan's eyes were like a hawk, watching further ahead. In the middle of the street, a yellow sedan chair appeared before his eyes. This sedan chair was plain, with but 4 people lifting it. They were all Profound Heaven experts. Curses to high heaven. Profound Heaven experts. The other 6 houses have them as elders and you freaking use them as porters? Zhuo Fan's face twitched and his fist tightened. Though the 4 Profound Heaven cultivators just broke through, that was beside the point. What was important was that Regent Estate's power was incredible. The rumors didn't do them justice. They weren't just 3 levels stronger. The other 6 houses were swept by fear. When the sedan chair was nearby, they walked forward and bowed. Oh, ha ha ha, I am but a young and uncultured junior. How could I trouble the 6 houses' elders to welcome me? Candid laughter came from the sedan, strong and resounding, reaching everyone's ears. The heavy power that it contained gave the impression of a mountain pressing on their hearts, robbing one of all power to resist. This was a true higher power backed by soul pressure. Under the youth's kind words, all trembled, as they knew the words were backed by arrogance. He came out like this before the elders just to show off his power. They had to admit, however, that no one here could match against his soul pressure. Not even the elders of the houses. The strength of one's soul in the Profound Heaven stage was a sign of one's potential and power in the Radiant stage. No one was pleased, but they had to give credit where it was due. Regent Estate would soon have another incredible expert. His power has been promised to be no less than Jade Flute Divine Sword, Feng Qiubai, in the future. Everyone was putting on serious faces, with only Chu Qingcheng lifting her head, pleased. He was someone she invited. The stronger he was, the more intimidating he was, the more capable he was to help Drifting Flower's edifice. Qingyun, we haven't seen each other for 10 years, and yet you've become so strong. I may no longer be your match. Chu Qingcheng smiled. Ha ha, Qingcheng, don't tease me. I would never dare hurt you. Laughing, the silk of the sedan chair rose and an elegant and handsome man in his 20s came out. The flicker in his eyes was far stronger than those possessed by the elders, and he also had a golden glow around him too. Second layer of profound heaven. A body cultivator. Zhuofan squinted. Zhuofan managed to kill Yu Giki so easily because that man was a mere schemer. He did not have an unyielding body to brave through any army. However, this profound heaven body cultivator was a headache to deal with. And that wasn't the least of it. Zhuofan sighed and looked at Hell Valley's fifth elder. He noticed some time ago that this elder also had a version of the diamond body. Not even Zhuofan could handle 2 body cultivators. Things are getting complicated. Zhuofan clicked his tongue. Xiao Dandan thought he was worried about Drifting Flower's edifice and consoled him. I didn't take you for such a kind man, one to worry for our sake. But don't worry, with young Master Huangpu Qingyun, the vicious Pill King will have to obediently give up the antidote. Humph, who the hell cares about you? He shook his head, but his eyes flashed when he gazed at Huangpu Qingyun. He isn't an easy man to deal with. For the first time in his life, a tremor ran through Huangpu Qingyun, and he turned his attention in Zhuofan's direction. Seeing him with Xiao Dandan, he squinted. Qingcheng, since when does Drifting Flower's edifice welcomes men? Chu Qingcheng also looked at Zhuofan and spoke with amusement. He is a son-in-law of ours. Don't you know Drifting Flower's edifice had men marrying in? Raising an eyebrow, Huangpu Qingyun nodded. To marry into the Drifting Flower's edifice, he must be a man of greatness. I wonder when I will have that honor too. Huangpu Qingyun was beaming, but Chu Qingcheng rolled her eyes, with a hint of red on her cheeks. Huangpu Qingyun laughed harder at this, while the elders strained their expressions. Even for a second young master of Regent Estate, he is too freaking arrogant. He dares give us the cold shoulder to flirt with the edifice lord right in front of us? Humph, I would rather train right now. Xie Tianyang left, but Jian Suifeng pulled him back. Huangpu Qingyun then smiled at him. You must be Sword Marquis Abode's second young master. My, you have such manners. Xie Tianyang didn't care and Jian Suifeng had to make amends. Forgive him. The second young master Tianyang is but a haughty child that I have failed to educate. Please overlook this. It's all right. Young Master Xia must be an impulsive man. I would like to befriend many such people. Huangpu Qingyun walked to Xie Tianyang and rested his hand on his shoulder. Second young master. Jian Suifeng was panicking. Huangpu Qingyun gave a reassuring glance, then smiled brightly at Xie Tianyang. Although his tone was frosty, I like straightforward people like young Master Xia the most. I would have grown tired if all I saw were fawning types, ha ha ha. The moment Huangpu Qingyun's hand touched Xie Tianyang's shoulder, he felt an overwhelming pain spread through his body. He could not move, only managing to gnash his teeth from pain and stand straight as an arrow. Pleased with the lesson, Huangpu Qingyun let go and laughed as he left with a group of fawners behind him. Jian Suifeng sighed. Tianyang, why do you act like this? I told you that Regent Estate's men are proficient in grasping the hearts of the people. Anyone who disobeys them suffers in the end. Eighth Elder, I now understand Ninger's feelings at that time. I never knew the Sword Marquis Abode would see this day. Sweat was dripping down Xie Tianyang's face. I will remember this, Huangpu Qingyun. The day will come when I will pay in kind. Jian Suifeng shook his head. For thousands of years, Regent Estate stood atop the 7 houses. Even if you are unwilling, all you can do is bear it. While this scene played out, none of them noticed Zhuofan standing in a corner, watching closely. His eyes were cold and his fists were clenched. Songyu, what's wrong? Your face is scary. Xiao Dandan asked. Zhuofan shook his head. Nothing. What will you do if your sisters are picked on? She watched him amazed. Hearing a mild tone from him for the first time. Depends on who it is. I will take some of my sisters to deal with normal people, or tell my master if it involves the 7 houses. Humph, what will be the point of that? Zhua Fan squinted as he showed naked killing intent. I, on the other hand, will crush anyone to dust for picking on my brother. His icy tone left Xiao Dandan shivering. She looked as if she didn't recognize him. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.